950 The Fan, Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Very good afternoon to you as we welcome you on into Rochester's only local sports talk show. It is the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia, glad you've made us part of your day at 95.7 FM, AM 950, the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, YouTube, Twitch, where we stream live every afternoon from 3 until 6 on our channel, The Fan Rochester. I am Mike Danger. That is Gene Battaglia.
Good afternoon, buddy. How's everything?
You know, I'm a little fatigued. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little fatigued.
How?
I feel like you. I feel like Dan DeLorean. I feel like One Bill's Life. Everybody just taking little shots at the Bears. It's it's the preseason here, bud. It's the preseason. I'm not going to get wound up or emotional over the performance of my team during the preseason.
I'm trying to think back. What shot did I personally take at the Bears?
Yesterday, buddy. I'm worried about you. I'm worried about Caleb. I'm worried about.
No, I'm just presenting news stories. Those aren't shots.
News stories, opinion stories, more like opinion stories. I mean, everybody's an opinion on the Bears. Everybody's got an opinion.
You're going to be fine because the Bears will win Sunday night in a game that doesn't mean anything, but that'll get everybody to feel good. There would just be some basic things they'll draw up for Caleb, boost his confidence. Don't you see how this is going to play out?
I know how it's going to. That's why I'm fatigued at hearing it because I already know how it's going to play out, and I'm not really too worried about any of it. But we're gearing up for week 2 of the preseason. It is the Bills. It is the Bears. It is Sunday night. We'll have the action for you here on the Fan Rochester, and later this afternoon, in fact, later this hour, we'll check in with Mark Grody, who covers the Bears for 670 The Score in Chicago.
I'm going to let you lead the conversation with Mark here, but I'm looking at the Bears' schedule. It's not easy, dude.
No, it's not.
No. I mean, you get the Saints, you get
the road
Giants,
schedule for the Bears is brutal.
Philadelphia, Baltimore, Cincinnati,
Washington,
San
House
Francisco.
of Horrors.
There's this. You get Dallas at home.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and don't laugh. I don't think that game against Vegas is going to be a layup either.
It's a brutal road schedule for the Bears, and Ben Johnson's got his work cut out for him. We'll find out fairly certainly in the beginning of the season what Caleb Williams is made of with Ben Johnson as head coach. Got a lot of questions for Grody. We'll ask him as we prepare for the Bills and the Bears coming up on Sunday night. State of the Bears and what we can expect out of the joint practices tomorrow in Chicago. Then joining us next hour, our pal from Cover One, Greg Thompson, stops by.
Yeah, as we invited Greg in because he's got Bills takes. Certainly, we will talk about what we can expect this weekend, not just with the game, but those joint practices. But Greg keeps track of stuff that, quite honestly, Danger, like it's for you and I, way too complicated. The salary cap and how does the Cook signing impact things for years to come? And one little thing that I found interesting, Bill Barnwell, the first to point this out. James Cook comes in at $11.5 million per year. $30 million guaranteed was truly a severe case of agent inflation. $15.3 million guaranteed at signing. $5.3 million was what he was already getting at 2025.
Right.
So, really, I where this is putting James Cook, the deal actually looks really, really good for the Bills now, in comparatively speaking.
Sure. So what is this now? He's the 11th. It's the 11th most guaranteed money at signing for running backs.
We live in a world with alternative facts. So, if Brandon Beane's like, hey, agent, if you want to say you got the most money, fine. Go whatever. Just knock yourself out.
It's crazy to me that his representation would bend it and twist it the way that they did. I mean, it's not crazy to me. They're trying to make a name for themselves, but in doing so, and now finding out that what they were putting out there was inflated, doesn't it just make you think like what we kind of already suspected? These guys aren't really good as far as representation is concerned.
I would have thought that James Cook could have switched agents that was the one thing I was wondering, would that actually happen? But he's stuck with these guys. It's now a moot point. He's here. But next year, because these will be lingering questions. What can the Bills afford to do in March of next year? What can they do coming up at the trade deadline? And I also want to ask him the Curtis Samuel question. You're going to have to carry that contract, I think, this year.
And back to Cook for a second here. Any way you kind of slice up his contract, he's kind of in the 6th to 8th highest paid running back range. He's 7th in annual average as percentage of the cap, 7th in 2-year cash, 8th 11th in guaranteed at signing, but the practical guarantee around $10 million higher, which puts him at around 6th. He's getting paid a little bit more than Kyron Williams, and I think that was really the benchmark that the Bills that Cook wanted to beat. I'm not going to make less than that guy. So what are we talking about?
No, but nor should you get Saquon. But to see the initial reports, there was one report from Yahoo that he's got more guaranteed dollars than Saquon. According to who? The agent on the phone? That's Greg Thompson will set us straight. That's coming up at about 4:30.
We have time for your calls this afternoon. You can join us at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326 as the Bills are traveling today to get to Chicago for that joint practice tomorrow before the game on Sunday. They did make a move today. It's a defensive end in Nelson Caesar. And in signing Caesar, the Bills have released Jalen Virgil and defensive end Justin Hollins. Chris Trapasso has more on Nelson Caesar.
Kind of that hybrid edge rusher, off-ball linebacker. He's big. He's 6'3", over 250 pounds. He was used a lot off the ball at Houston. Thumper downhill. He's going to set a tone probably in the second half of these next 2 preseason games and can give you a little bit of pass rush moves on the outside as like a blitzer.
Played in the UFL as well.
Yeah, he was out in Seattle's camp as a UDFA. The D.C. Defenders. Also, the San Antonio Brahmas?
Brahmas. Is
Yeah,
that an island? Is that an island south of Florida? The Brahmas, like a bull. The Brahma.
Right.
Yeah, I think that was The Rock's nickname as a wrestler, right?
Gotcha.
And so I don't know if that's a team he owns or but he has his fingerprints in the UFL. So
I like Bahamas.
Bahamas is nice.
Yeah.
This time of year, it's a little bit too hot for my liking. But if you go to the Bahamas in January, February, usually the beaches are exquisite.
I'll do that game with my daughter. Hey, I named this baseball team. Show the logo. She won't get it. It's I feel like UFL, those teams. I'm like the DC Defenders. Yeah.
I
got it.
Did not watch a second of the UFL this spring. Same. Not one. I could tell you some of the team names, but I couldn't tell you a thing about who was out there and who did what. So a little bit of a UFL background for Nelson Caesar, the new signing for the Buffalo Bills here at defensive end. And Jalen Virgil, I believe, was injured, so waived with injured reserve or with the injury designation. The receiver core for the Bills right now, thin, real thin. So there's the Bills move of the day.
And since the Bills today being a travel day, there wasn't any media accessibility. So who's playing on? I'm sure we'll get that word tomorrow because there is going to be a joint practice playing on Sunday. We don't know at this point. I can tell you we'll have the game 6 o'clock Sunday here.
A couple of things around the NFL, too, that I think are worth mentioning. One that could have an impact on this team's game against the Bills later this season, and that's Rashee Rice and his disciplinary hearing. Gino, you saw this, right?
This is strange, right? Because the law, they've actually made their decision, 5 years probation. So why aren't we having the hearing now? Why is this being pushed off to September 30th? You could say, well, it's important that the Chiefs get eyeballs in that first game down in Brazil in a standalone game. I mean, that's the cynic in me saying this. Also, hey, from a Bills standpoint, this isn't so bad because Ryan Talbot and others have said, this could be not just your standard 2-game suspension. This could be potentially 6 to 8. Maybe Rice won't be available for that first Sunday in November against Buffalo.
The same judge that presided over the Deshaun Watson case is presiding over this case. as well. I'm trying to remember. Was Watson got a year? Did he not, or was it six games, or was it 8 games? Was half a year, half a season originally?
It was not a full year.
It was not a full year. So I believe it was half a season. I think it was like 8 games that he was suspended. So if you think 6 to 8 games for Rice as far as discipline coming down from the NFL, but he can play until that comes down and until the appeals process plays through. I mean, you could get a few, 2, 3, 4 games out of Rashee Rice early this season before any sort of suspension would happen, and that would put him at risk to miss the Bills game coming up later this season. So there's a bit of news there. And by the way, you want to talk about the cynic in you. The cynic in me says, boy, it's a good thing Rice wasn't found sports gambling, because if he would have been found sports gambling, we would have had an answer by now. Lucky for him, he only caused a multi-car pileup and, pled guilty to that. Lucky for him that he gets this, disciplinary hearing pushed to the end of September, because if he would have just placed a wager on any sport,
like Calvin Ridley, buy him, good.
See ya, bye, forget it, gone. But no, this was, obviously far less severe than gambling on sports. This was him just, causing a multi-car wreck in Dallas with reckless driving and, pleading guilty to it. So it's nice that the NFL is pushing this, kicking this can down the road to the end of September. It's been a rough week for the NFL as far as their go about it in court here. Yeah,
so Gruden is going to have his day in court, which means discovery phase. Discovery phrase, that's all the good, juicy stuff. All right, let's see here. And Gruden, I will give the man credit, Danger. He could have just said, all right, because I'm sure there was a big offer on the table, and you accept this check, and, no, he didn't do that. So John Gruden is going to have his day in court. And then also Brian Flores. Oh, that story. Totally forgot about that. So, again, I don't know where that story's going with, but Roger Goodell, the theme here is it really a good thing that he's the ultimate arbitrator, the commissioner of the league, when you have a dispute between Players Association or, in this instance, a coach and ownership, that the guy who works for the owners actually makes the decision? How's that not a conflict of interest?
That's right. Yeah. It's not truly fair, but yet the NFL will always push for these kind of cases to go to arbitration. And in now 2 instances this week with Gruden, as you mentioned, and with Brian Flores now, they are actually going to avoid arbitration and go to court. And there's going to be they're going to get hurt. They're going to have their day. Flores' story, I mean, it's remarkable how fast the news cycle churns and how quickly we forget. But the Flores story is remarkable. I mean, that is collusion and lack of equal opportunity, and there's so much. What was the one that his interview with Denver? Remember, he had an interview with Denver and the guys were hammered or something like that. It wasn't a serious interview. They didn't take him seriously as a candidate. He was just a box that they were trying to check. I mean, some of the allegations are pretty rough.
Yeah, and ultimately it was Bill Belichick not understanding how to use a cell phone when instead of texting, he thought Brian Daboll, he was texting Brian Flores, as the story goes.
Yeah.
Congratulations on what?
Right. Are you hearing something? Oops, my bad. Wrong Brian. So, the Gruden case will be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how deep that goes, where the emails came from, who unearthed the emails that got John Gruden fired, and the Flores claim is fascinating as well. I can't wait to see how it all plays out.
Well, I mean, if you remember, Brett Musburger was a professional hit basically on Gruden's career.
It really was. Musburger.
Yeah, Musburger laid it all out way back when.
He knew what was up.
First of all, as I told Coach, whoever took you out, John, that was a paid assassin. Okay, that was one of the best hit jobs that I've ever been around. Okay, they didn't go to their media goombas. They didn't leak this to Adam Schefter or one of those guys who break stories. They first went to the Wall Street Journal, and when Gruden was still coaching after that, then they dumped the rest of it on the New York Times. That was a professional hit job, but I want to tell everybody that I'm not completely sure it was somebody in the NFL. There was a second lawsuit involved, okay, between the owner, Snyder of Washington, and a former general manager. And that means that a lot of outside people had access to those emails.
You know, the secret winner and all that is some guy with 5 billion, one of the worst humans to walk this planet, somewhere on the Mediterranean, wherever, with a lady S right now.
Yeah.
That guy got paid in all this.
Yeah. I think it's going to be fascinating to see where it all goes. And if Gruden goes deep, if the Gruden case goes deep and they actually can trace who unearthed those emails, who exposed those emails to the media, and there were reports out there that it had maybe something to do with Rock Nation, with Jay-Z's company.
Mm-hmm.
And, man, if it goes that deep and if it lands, if that's the punch that lands, I will be just fascinated to see how it all plays out.
Well, kind of like as an analogy, all right, the steroid scandal from way back when. This is the story that we don't know is true, okay? I'll just kind of put that out there. But kind of the way the story goes is they did a big net. They came up with a ton of positives, a ton of names, and basically the commissioner's office got to pick one name just to make it an example. Rafael Palmeiro, sorry, here it is. And he, he couldn't deny it after he was on, Capitol Hill saying, I never did steroids, period, or whatever it is. I'm drawing that analogy because why did the Raiders get picked? Why was it Gruden? What led to that? Because in the NFL, Danger, I would think every team has something. So why was it that we're going to make an example of, and at that point, we held John Gruden in high regard. We loved him. He was doing beer commercials, and he was really funny and everything else. And doing football.
He was on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, so why did you choose that guy to tear him down? What was it? Or was it the Raiders themselves that's the weakest of the owners, Mark Davis, that let's pick on that guy?
Fascinating.
What went into that?
You can reach out to us on X. Our handle is The Fan Rochester. The regulars already having some fun with us, including Chuck Munchia Pet. That's our buddy Greg. At Gene Battaglia. Did someone say Bahamas? A bull in a bikini on a beach, animated. Thank you. Feel free to never text us again.
Thankfully, that's not my worst malaprop ever on the show.
Don't need to see that.
It was kind of.
Did not need to see that. Did not need to see a cow, an animated cow wearing a bikini, sipping a Mai Tai on the beach. But thank you. Yes, Gene. Gene said instead of Brahma. The Bahamas are beautiful.
Yeah.
We go to Chicago next and talk to Mark Grody. He's on our Odyssey Sports sister station, 670 The Score, and it's been an eventful offseason in Chicago with the hiring of Ben Johnson. We have a Section 5 connection with GM Ryan Poles. I want to ask Mark if the guy who played offensive line while he was an NFL player couldn't identify that the line was a weak link last year during Caleb Williams' rookie season. What took him so long to bolster it up this season? And the extension that was given to him is, look, happy for the guy, but that's a lot of years and a lot of money for somebody who has done nothing in the NFL. Nothing in the NFL. And what does Kevin Warren do for the Bears, by the way? Does he do anything? I mean, what exactly?
What would you say you do here?
Like at some point, they're going to have a stadium deal, right?
Well, I think
they
brought him in to get a stadium deal, and the stadium deal didn't happen, so they're defaulting to the property that they had in Arlington Heights, which is where they can build a stadium, but it won't be a quote-unquote deal.
Like if we're doing this like as a kind of a meme sort of thing, or what's your image from this whole stadium? And it's been a long, long saga where they have this big kickoff announcement for whatever it is they're going to ask for in Chicago, which didn't go anywhere. And you have some pastor leading prayer.
It was gross.
Pray for a stadium? What
pray for the billionaires who are trying to take money away from the fans.
What are we doing?
Yeah. I mean, when you think about the celebration of wealth that we saw on Hard Knocks, the Pagulas raising a glass to a good season and a stadium that they didn't have to pay for. That's what they can't get done in Chicago, because in Illinois, the elected officials are like, no, we're not giving you money for your stadium. We're not doing that. That's not something we're interested in asking our citizens to do. So curious to see what the update is there out of Chicago. A lot being made of Caleb Williams, a lot being made of Ben Johnson. We'll get a little preview from Chicago on the Bills' opponent Sunday night with Mark Grody, 670 The Score, joining us next on The Fan Rochester.
Travel day today for the Buffalo Bills as tomorrow joint practices with the Chicago Bears. Steve Tasker today on One Bills Live on why these practices are a good thing.
It's really a good experience for the young players and for the entire team, even the veterans, to go out and get outside themselves a little bit and have to adjust on the fly. And it is a chance for the ones to go on ones. Number one defense is going to, the Bears' number one defense is going to be going against Josh and this offensive line and James Cook and the rest.
Bills and Bears, 6 o'clock for the pregame, 8 o'clock to kick off Sunday night here on the Fan Rochester. Former Buffalo Sports Radio host Art Wander has passed. Wander was 98. Rochester Red Wings are home tonight against Syracuse. Major League's Jays and Cubs, no score there in the second. Rain delay in Baltimore. The Orioles are up on the Mariners 5-0 in the sixth. Gene Battaglia with the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, the Fan Rochester.
Pull up a stool and join us. 585-866-4FAN. 866-432-6. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Yeah, really cool. He's worked super hard, done a lot of great things here. So to see him get rewarded is awesome. We came in at the same time, so I've seen, from the beginning, the stuff that he's done here. So it's a good feeling. It's exciting to just get him back out there and rolling and getting ready for the year.
And then just as a group, Terrell, to have you guys know that you're kind of the core that this team is building around. How special is that?
Yeah, it's super special. It's a moment that you don't take lightly, for sure, and something that I take to heart. I know the other guys take to heart too. Just the accountability that comes with it, the leadership that comes with it. So, we're excited to get to work and do what we got to do.
Bills linebacker Terrell Bernard, Buffalo Bills, with what you could call a new core of players here, all from that same class, signing their extensions, whether you're talking about Terrell Bernard or Khalil Shakir. Of course, certainly James Cook now in the mix for that as well. So a good new core for the Buffalo Bills. And everybody seems to be moving in the right direction now that they've got the James Cook contract distraction out of the way.
Funny thing is, what would be the trivia question would be, who's actually the first round pick in that class?
Was it Rousseau?
No. That was Kyrie Elam.
Rousseau was the year before?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. And so Elam, but it's okay because you got Benford.
Yeah. Yeah, so that core now consists of, like I said, Bernard, Benford, certainly Cook, Rousseau is there, Shakir is there. They're basically all the guys that got signed here in the offseason that we know aren't going anywhere for any period of time. We welcome you back into the Sports Bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. Trying to get Mark Grody from 670 The Score on with us. We know that the Bears did practice today, the joint practice between the Bears and the Bills happening tomorrow. And, of course, week 2 of the preseason, Sunday night, from Soldier Field with the Bills traveling to Chicago today.
Yeah, and so tomorrow I would expect, all right, you're going to see some good things. You're going to see some different things. There was a joint practice in the NFL yesterday that, okay, if you're a fan of this team and the videos and the one team that looked really, really great putting it out there, what the Lions did to the Dolphins yesterday, whether that's Amon-Ra St. Brown running down the sideline, basically the corner just letting him go, whether it's Aiden Hutchinson just easily getting into the backfield, highlight after highlight after highlight. And if you're a Dolphin fan, these are coming across the feed. It's alarming stuff here. And then they go to Mike McDaniel afterward to the point where he had a Lions linebacker said, I don't know, their practice habits kind of questioning stuff.
The next time I see Mike McDaniel say something coherent will be the first time this season. I'm worried about Mike McDaniel's mental health. I think the guy is off his rocker. I know he was always kind of viewed as this kind of quirky, egghead offensive guru, and he just says off-the-wall stuff now on the regular. Stuff that doesn't make any sense. Him talking about 8 Mile after joint practicing with Detroit. I'm like, what is he doing? One day closer to death comment from earlier. We remember that Take of the Year nominee, by the way.
You should stand corrected. Good morning. False. Great morning. Let's go.
Why great? What makes this one great?
Because we're another day closer to death.
Whoa.
Why is that? Like, I love Gallo's humor more than anyone. Where's the punchline in that?
Somebody check in on Mike McDaniel's health and the health of his team as well. I mean, you've got Tua talking about the system. They're 4 years into this, and they still don't necessarily sound like they're cohesive. Head coach, quarterback, wide receiver. There doesn't seem to be any sort of cohesiveness with this organization, and now you can question the effort in a joint practice as well. What the hell is going on in Miami?
I mean, that defense, Danger, and they were already thin at the secondary position, and like what you're seeing, some are calling it one of the worst joint practices they've ever seen. Like one team, how they came in and just didn't seem prepared for it, and maybe we get to the game on tomorrow, Saturday, whenever it is, and we forget about it, we move on real quick. But if we're doing the game of which NFL quarterback is most likely to be gone, first one to be let go, well, I would think Miami might be an attractive position just for anybody, just for the lifestyle, just for the fact that, all right, you're going to, if there's a way you can move off of Tua's contract in a year or two, maybe it's not, but I would think that he'd be a leading candidate.
Kind of crazy to think of just where, how your quarterback is one hit away from, again, like you questioning whether or not he should continue to play. There's this just fine line that team is skating on where they go one direction and they could be competitive enough to be a playoff team, but I can't even say that anymore because I don't know that that's – it feels more like the wide range of outcomes for Miami isn't that wide anymore, that they're just going to be a sub-500 team.
We can't bet on this stuff, but there are actually odds. McDaniel isn't the top candidate. Who would be?
The top candidate to lose their job?
Yeah. So McDaniel checks
going into the season or during the season?
Going into the season as it stands today, Mike McDaniel, as being the first NFL head coach to get fired, is at plus 500.
Which ranks him where?
Second.
Okay.
So there's only one guy ahead of him.
It's got to be Daboll.
It is at plus 400. But the Giants are so steady. And even in a media market like New York, they don't do that sort of stuff.
You see enough out of Jackson Dart in the preseason to know that you've got somebody that's competent backing up Russell Wilson. I wouldn't wait. I wouldn't wait that long. I mean, you have Russell Wilson there. If you want to start him week one, that's fine. But if Jackson Dart unlocks something in Brian Daboll's offense, the way he wants to do things, don't hesitate. Get him out there.
Here's the other odds. Third on the list. Who would you put third? So Daboll 1, McDaniel 2.
Kyle Shanahan.
He's not on my list.
Yeah, that's funny.
Funny.
I just popped into my head because I always feel like we're talking about Kyle Shanahan losing his job. No, third.
Okay, so the next three guys, I'll give you a hint here. Next three guys, we all look at the owner like, oh, yeah, I could see that.
Oh, because the owner's crazy?
The impulsive.
Well, Shane Steichen would be one.
Ding, ding.
Yeah.
Shane Steichen, the Colts, where Jim Irsay's daughter wears a headset.
Say Gannon.
Gannon is at plus 800. He's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down on the list.
Okay.
There's two in between. One where I think this guy's a good coach, but he could just be dead man walking. And the other guy I thought did a good job next year, but again, he could be dead man walking.
I'm not going to say that there's anybody in the NFC South. Todd Bowles? Todd Bowles?
No.
What?
Dave Canales.
Canales?
Well,
I don't know that. I wouldn't think of that guy as somebody on the hot seat just because of how the play of Bryce Young turned around last year.
Fair, but if they get off to a 1-6 start and
however, the owner is crazy.
He's a hothead.
Yeah.
Like, as far as owners that are a hothead, that guy is it. Stefanski coming in fourth,
yeah.
where Stefanski will always have a job in this league, and just seeing him clapping on a Zoom call or whatever it looked like a Zoom call, just, when the camera on draft day for Shedeur Sanders, like, okay, this guy is not calling the shots there in Cleveland. Hasn't since day one, but he's a 2-time coach of the year. Who wouldn't want this guy?
Yeah, Stefanski will be fine. if he's not in Cleveland. If anything, he'll get a job because he survived Cleveland for as long as he has. Most guys don't last as long as Stefanski has lasted with that organization. And not only that, but gotten them to the postseason. You mentioned 2-time Coach of the Year. He'll go into the season on the hot seat.
And then the next guy on the list, it's funny, like this guy has a losing record with this franchise. Like, how is that? We hold this team in high regard. We think, hey, they could be a Super Bowl contender. 46-52-1 for Zach Taylor's record in Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
Where you forget, there's a couple years where Burrow's not available, and when it was good, it was really, really good, but it's kind of looked kind of sideways. I don't see that because that would mean you'd have to pay somebody else to pick up the slack, and that owner's so cheap.
We've heard nothing about Trey Hendrickson, have we?
No.
Or Terry McLaurin, for that matter. But, I mean, like, the hold-ins, whatever's going on, Micah Parsons. I mean, we know Jerry's going to, stir something up when the Cowboys' name starts to fade into the background noise. You want your brand to be front and center, so he'll say or do something here to stir it up. But
well, at what point does Parsons need to get working in order to be on the field opening night in Philadelphia on September the 4th? That's a fair question. It can't be Labor Day. You can't just show up 3 days beforehand. Like, that happened with Chris Jones, and he was wearing a baseball cap, and the Chiefs lost to the Lions a couple years ago. So at what point does Jerry's like crazy enough and dumb enough to be like, yeah, he might pull that Labor Day move, and he doesn't care. He got it done, and we're going to go into Philadelphia without him.
Right. He had Zeke sit out how many weeks before he came in?
It was 2. It was you're saying Zeke. I'm sorry.
Or Emmett.
Emmett
was
Smith.
2 weeks. Zeke was suspended, I want to say.
Yeah,
I'm getting confused.
Yeah, Zeke was suspended. Emmett Smith, Cowboys beat the Bills. That was 52-17. And the next year, Emmett Smith wants a new contract. No. Cowboys start out that season 0-2. And it's actually the Bills winning in Dallas week 2. And Jerry saw enough. That was Jerry lost. He lost the leverage when your team started out 0-2. Emmitt Smith proved his point. What ended up happening? The Cowboys repeat as champs.
Right.
Right. Which I'm sure I could relive all those great memories here in Western New York. I just can't find the time, Danger, to sit down and actually watch that Netflix documentary on the Cowboys. Somebody else can. I'll add it to my list. Just like I'm going to add it to the list. Chiefs Kingdom. You know that debate?
Every team is going to have one of these.
Chiefs Kingdom.
Every team, by the way, is going to have one of these. If you think that the Chiefs are special, they're not. Every team will have one of these.
Can't block Binkley, but can I mute him on text? Because I'm sure he's going to be.
That's your buddy. You're not blocking that guy.
I can't.
That's
but
your
it's
buddy.
like,
You're not blocking him. You're going to have to hear it. Right now, he's probably licking his chops like they're not taking us seriously enough. This is disrespect. The whole league is disrespecting us. This is. We'll take a break. Mark Grody, 670 The Score, trying to get him on with us here, and hopefully we can before we get to Greg Thompson, who's joining us next hour from Cover One. We'll talk about the James Cook contract, the Bills' cap situation, and the joint practice is happening between the Bills and the Bears tomorrow in advance of Week 2 of the preseason from Soldier Field on Sunday night. More next on The Fan.
Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. The Fan, Rochester.
Dive into the Bills cap and the James Cook contract with Greg Thompson at Cover One. He's joining us right around 4:25. Welcome back into the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
If you need proof that the NFL has lapped the field in comparison to other sports, like I think most people would say, even though baseball I think has come on in the last few years, we put the NBA right behind the NFL. Today, the NBA released all of its schedule. So
I saw that, Gino. I saw that. And, boy, for the amount of an event that it gets made of in the NFL, it sure seems like the NBA releasing their schedule, kind of like the MLB releasing its schedule, feels like a bit of a non-factor. So we'll get into that here as we cross the top of the hour and get ready to talk to Greg Thompson at Cover One about the James Cook contract. But we're joined now by a guy covering the Chicago Bears at 670 The Score, Odyssey Sports sister station in Chicago, as the Bills travel to Chicago for joint practices with the Bears. Welcome back into the Sports Bar. Mark Grody, thanks for making time for us today, bud.
Absolutely, guys. Sorry I'm a little bit late, but I am here and looking forward to talking Bears and Bills with you guys.
Now, full disclosure, me, Danger, I'm the Bears fan here in the studio. I'm a Chicago guy. I was born in Arlington Heights. I'm here in Bills country, and I know the Bills more than I know the Bears because we're covering the Bills. I want to learn as much as we can here about the Bills' opponent on Sunday night. And the biggest thing that I think that was kind of exciting for Bears fans was Ben Johnson's decision this offseason to come to Chicago. That felt like a big deal because it doesn't normally happen where the guy that everybody wants chooses Chicago. What's been your impression of him so far, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, in my lifetime, this is only I go all the way back to the middle part of the Ditka regime, and the last time that I can remember the Bears getting the hot prospect head coach was one Dave Wanstead, who took over for Mike Ditka, and he was the hot defensive coordinator. This was the hot offensive coordinator, so it was a bit of a surprise party that the Bears landed him, considering how ambiguous their previous hirings have been, that they went out there and actually got that guy. And that guy also desired to be with the Bears, that he went into that interview saying, this is where I want to be. You know, he completely blew his coverage, his leverage, everything. He has been the face of the franchise. Look, which sounds wild, because we obsessed over Caleb Williams last year as the face of the franchise, but Ben Johnson is it. He is doing things differently from his predecessors in that he's been pretty transparent with the players, whether for the better or for the worse of the evaluation of the player. He has a better command than his predecessors, as in he's not afraid to stop a play and get in a guy's face. And then the other thing I think that he has earned before he even walked in the building with the Bears is, again, something that his predecessors didn't have, and that was a real live credibility, a real resume to point to the good things that he did and has done with the Detroit Lions. So far, man, I mean, it's a great question because we are in the honeymoon. We are in the thick of the Ben Johnson honeymoon right now.
Well, if it's going to work, obviously, then you need Caleb Williams to work here as well. And we get to see Caleb for the first time on the field in the preseason against the Bills Sunday night. We've read these reports. Not all of them have been great. You're there, Mark. How's Caleb doing?
Well, he's been okay, I guess. And even using that word, I might be being a little bit generous because we're not seeing consistency at this point. The thing that I wanted to see out of Caleb Williams going into this training camp, unlike last year's training camp, was successive days where you could say the quarterback played well. Moreover, the offense played well. I have not seen successive days in my time out there covering the Bears practices at their training camp in Lake Forest, Illinois. I've not seen the back-to-back good stuff. It's even hard to really, come up with good back-to-back successive series or even throws right now. So, what I'm describing and defining right now is quintessential inconsistency. And the big bugaboo right now for Caleb Williams, guys, is very simple, is the ability to process quickly and subsequently get rid of the ball quickly. He has not mastered that yet. But I still think it's on the table that Caleb Williams is great still, or even good, and the Bears quarterback for many years to come. It's just not there yet.
he was good last year, right? I mean, you look at everything around him and how the season just absolutely imploded on the Bears. I know that he didn't set the benchmarks that a lot of fans wanted him to set, and the record certainly didn't indicate that he was good. But there were plenty of moments last year where I'm like, Caleb is good. I mean, going back to even week 1 of the preseason last year against the Bills, saw him make some throws that we haven't seen a Bears quarterback make in a long time. Is this Ben Johnson tearing him down to build him back up in some way?
No, absolutely. I mean, they keep using the phraseology, 1 step forward, 2 steps back, stripped it down completely, brand new offense. They're asking him to play from under center, which is not something that he has done all the time. And then, back to your original premise, too, about, Caleb Williams had a good year. Yeah, if you look at the statistics, as you said, he did not reach the magic number that we're all waiting for Bears quarterbacks to reach, but he did have 18 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. So he did not make a fool out of himself. But when you watch every minute of every game, as we are required to do, one of the biggest problems was the fact that he just did not have good starts to games. Literally the first, second, and third series were just bad for Caleb Williams last year. And I wanted to give him excuses, and there were excuses because of the coaching staff. But at some point in time, watching that particular part of the game, the one constant was Caleb Williams and not the offensive coordinator, not the head coach, not the offensive line. So he shined at times in the fourth quarter, which is a really handy thing to have as a quarterback, but really need those first 3 quarters of his games to tighten up. And you're right, and I'm glad you said it, because sometimes in our Bears bubble here in Chicago, we're so critical that and so wanting for this guy to be elite that we see more of the flaws that he had last year than do we see the success that he had last year.
Mark Grody, 670, the score in Chicago. There are joint practices tomorrow. One guy I want to learn more about, DJ Moore. A couple of years ago, really nice numbers. Now, in the Ben Johnson offense, how does Johnson deploy him, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, we're all kind of waiting to see how that forms itself, man. I mean, imagine that DJ Moore and Roma Dunze, who the Bears drafted in the first round last year, are your 2 outside guys. Look for Luther Burden to pop into the slot, who they drafted in the second round this year. Colston Loveland, the tight end the Bears drafted in the first round, is going to be all over that line. It's been fun to sort of watch his early development. But the DJ Moore question is great, because one of the things that we're debating right now in Chicago is who is going to have the most yards as a receiver or just pass catcher this year for the Bears. I do think it's going to be DJ Moore. Some of my colleagues believe it's Roma Dunze, and I think that's because it would be really neat if it was Roma Dunze with the 2 first-rounders coming in last year. But I think DJ Moore is still your best player on offense. The chemistry simply was not there on the field with Caleb Williams and DJ Moore at times last year, but I do think that's going to get better. It's going to get better fast.
We have a soft spot for Ryan Poles, Mark. He's a Section 5 New York State guy. He went to school down the road from us here in Canandaigua. And what he did this offseason, I think, is what many thought he should have done last offseason, which is invest in the offensive line. And that's a guy that played the position. So, Mark, what made him wait until this year to bolster the interior? And boy, that extension that he got sure seems hefty for somebody who has made a couple of decent trades, but has also gotten fleeced on a couple of decent trades and ultimately hasn't won anything in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, it is ironic that it is his position that he played, Ryan Poles, as you mentioned. He was an offensive lineman. Ironic that he has not been able to quite crack the code at the NFL level in terms of bringing in the right mix. Now, the thing that he did do this year, the most important thing was bring in. They made some damn good moves on the interior of that offensive line. They're bringing in Drew Dahlman to be your center, Jonah Jackson at right guard, and not to be left last year because he's the best of the bunch, you have Joe Tooney at left guard. I can't tell you guys what a pleasure it has been to know going into a Bears training camp, which I have covered since 2018, knowing that the interior of the offensive line on paper is set, and you're not dealing with, signing Lucas Patrick to be your center or Colston Loveland or last year when they had a competition at the center position. And then Nate Davis as a guard who turned out to be a bust. I mean, it was just a circus. Tevin Jenkins, who I loved with the Bears, just injury prone. So to have that interior taken care of, it's really good. You're set at right tackle. at this point with Darnell Wright, but it is the left tackle position right now that they do not know who the starter will be right now. There's a good old-fashioned competition going on between Braxton Jones and Ozzie Trapillo. And there have been there was an extra candidate that I might be getting way too much in the minutia for your audience right now, but Theo Benedette, another guy, undrafted guy out of the Ivy League, now supposedly competing at left tackle for the Bears as well.
Interesting. Defense, the other side of the ball. It's always been a source of pride for Bear fans. Dennis Allen, new DC. What is he going to bring to the team? And is there a player you would say that's primed for a big season, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to Dennis Allen's creativity. I'm looking forward to his version of the 4-3. I am definitely looking forward to his want to play man press coverage, something that we haven't seen a lot of with Dennis Allen's predecessors. So that's going to be fun to see. And if Jalen Johnson, who has been great for the Bears, their top cornerback who was paid last year, if he's going to get to do a little bit more traveling with the top wide receivers on the opposing teams, which they have not let him do a lot of in the past. So that's definitely something I'm looking forward to. I think the biggest thing with Dennis Allen and whomever would have been the Bears defensive coordinator this year is, can you scheme up the Bears to allow them to get to the quarterback? It's been rough. Montez Sweat had a rough year last year. They brought in Dayo Odengbo and paid him well, the defensive end out of Indianapolis, and they paid him big money in free agency. So they are definitely depending on him to break through a little bit more. They signed Grady Jarrett this year for the defensive line. Hopefully he can add some more pressure. But I just think that the big deal for Dennis Allen is, can you get these guys to get to the quarterback more often, because it hurts the Bears defense. And the other thing, too, last year was the Bears defense gave up some massive run yards last year. They've got to plug those holes this year.
Mark, there's a name on that defense that Bills fans are very familiar with, and he's another guy that got paid a lot of money in free agency. How is Tremaine Edmonds viewed by Bears fans and Bears media?
Honestly, on the overall, disappointing, because he was, first of all, he had a tough act to follow, because he was essentially he was a replacement for Roquan Smith, who was very popular with the Bears. And I would say on the overall, and I don't know how you guys feel about it, Roquan Smith is the better player on the overall. Tremaine Edmonds has been okay, but on the overall, this is to the point where, one of the things that has been talked about in OTAs, and we've seen it play out in training camp, is allowing TJ Edwards, who the Bears signed in free agency a couple of years ago. TJ Edwards, who was signed at the same time as Edmonds, has outplayed Tremaine Edmonds and is going to get more time at the Mike spot as opposed to Tremaine Edmonds. So, Edmonds was kind of like again, he's not making a fool of the Bears defense. He belongs as a starter with the Bears. But if you ask me the question, unfortunately, a little bit disappointing from Tremaine Edmonds.
Sounds exactly what we saw here.
Checks out.
Yeah, that's exactly
really?
All those years. And I don't think we took one call like, oh, boy, the Bills missed Tremaine Edmonds. We're talking about Cody.
He's such a tantalizing talent, with that size and that speed, that demeanor and the mentality, a good locker room guy. You're like, he's a can't miss, but he never plays as good as his body.
Mark, if we're talking about the outlook for the Bears this year, you could make an argument that, all right, it's going to be a bad year, 5 or 6 wins, and they're picking it in the top 10, or what they could maybe compete for the division. So between those two scenarios, which one's more likely?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's likely, unfortunately, from a Bears perspective, that they are going to win that division. I still think there's 3 teams, unfortunately, for the Bears again that are better than them at this point. With Detroit, Minnesota, and Green Bay. And I know some people think that Minnesota is going to take a step back because of J.J. McCarthy, but they have an unbelievable coach in Kevin O'Connell, who may have been responsible for Sam Darnold getting a deal in free agency like he did. So I think the Bears are this is not a playoff team. I don't think it's a playoff team. I do think it's possible for them to get 7 to 8 wins. I think even when the schedule guys came out, I think I might have given the Bears 10 wins, but I was just being ridiculous, because that's what we do when the schedule comes out. We just come up with crazy things. But I've watched a lot of training camp. I know what's going on in the other camps in the North, and I just don't think this is the year. Here's what it is, though, guys. If I don't care what the Bears' record is at the end of the year. If the Bears know they have a quarterback for the future after this year, it's still the most important part. You want to win. Bears fans are hungry to get back into the postseason, but I also think that everybody would accept knowing after this year that you have a good to great quarterback that's going to be around your franchise for the next 7 to 10 years.
Mark, I've got a couple more. They're off-field related. I'm curious about the new stadium, what exactly Kevin Warren does for the Bears. And I heard one of the hosts there at the Score make mention of the obnoxious size of the Virginia McCaskey patch that the team is wearing to honor her passing. It sure seems like that giant M is masking a bit of an insecurity. What are your takes?
Well, the funny part is George McCaskey, the chairman of the Bears and the son of Virginia McCaskey, even got up there and said that Virginia would have hated the patch because, that she's a more modest human being. So to her, it would have been obnoxious. And it is a little bit. But, hey, man, I mean, that's the matriarch, man. That's Virginia McCaskey. That's historic stuff. So I guess you let them do what they need to do, mourn how they want to mourn. So I will accept that, even though I understand from where you're coming. As far as the stadium is concerned, it's been a wild ride. It's probably going to be in the suburbs at Arlington Heights in the western burbs here of Chicago. There is no motion whatsoever anymore to have this thing happen in the city. We had the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, on, and he basically, his answers to us were, "Hey, my door's open," and I even asked the mayor, "Have you even talked to the Bears in the last 2 weeks?" And he basically said no. So if we are to believe that the focus is on the suburbs for the Bears still have some convincing to do to the state of Illinois in terms of their desire to get money. So they are still presenting to the state. And if you guys know anything about Chicago politics, and I think you do, in Illinois politics, it's hard to get things done, and you never know what's really on the up and up. Not that the Bears aren't on the up and up. I'm talking about the state of Illinois.
Mark Grody, 670 The Score, which is free in the Odyssey app. Mark, tell our audience where they can get more of you.
Yeah, if you'd like, absolutely. I am on Twitter at Grody Sports. I'm also on Instagram. I think that's Mark _Grody. You can Google me. Be careful though. I tell you what, man. Like I've had both of my social media entities hacked recently, but I'd still like you to be a part of it. Also, I also do a podcast. We do it's called Take the North, which the Bears haven't done, but it's called Take the North, and I perform this podcast a few times a week with my colleague from the Chicago Tribune, Dan Wiederer. So if you want to check that out, I would appreciate it. We are very honest about the Bears, as you could tell from this hit.
Mark, fantastic work as always. Appreciate you giving us some of your time. Know how busy you are. We'll look forward to your work on Sunday when the Bills come to town.
My pleasure coming on. I appreciate it, guys, and good luck to the Bills this year. They are my pick to win the Super Bowl.
Oh, all right.
Oh, all right.
Good, Mark. Thank you for that. There he is, Mark Grody. 670 The Score in Chicago. Appreciate it, Mark.
Thanks,
Wow, Grody's got the Bills going to the Super Bowl.
I think most people don't say that out loud here because of superstition, right?
There's no superstition. We create our own luck, Gene. You know this.
Yeah.
We create our own luck. There you go. There's everything you need to know about the Bears going into Sunday's game. Thank you for humoring me. From Mark Grody.
Do you feel any better or do you feel worse?
I feel about the same.
Yeah.
Feel about the same.
Well, the thing I had to kind of chuckle is, Tremaine Edmonds, boy, that sounds awfully familiar.
Well, if they're moving him away from the Mike position in this new Dennis Allen 4-3 alignment, I'm curious to see what that – because we always marvel at his ability. He did have speed sideline to sideline. He physically does a lot of things well. Maybe he's just not the guy in the middle to orchestrate everything. And TJ Edwards has outplayed him. There's no question about that. So if Edwards is the guy in the center and you've got Edmonds taking that more of a outside role, that Edmonds, I should say, that would be that'll be interesting to see. Dennis Allen, I know it's only the preseason, but he was dialing up some real aggressive play calling against the Dolphins on Sunday's game. So we'll see what he has dialed up for the Bills. We still don't know who from the Bills will be playing on Sunday. We'll probably learn more tomorrow when the team is done traveling to Chicago and get that joint practice underway.
We have Greg Thompson coming up at the bottom of the hour, cover one, and talk about this Cook contract and some Bills issues here as we'll talk some Bills football this hour. You're always welcome to join us at 866 4FAN.
Quick break here, and we'll also recap that, or we'll preview Week 1. We got another Week 1 game to talk about as well.
I do.
All right, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
We'll get to that and Thompson next on The Fan.
Electric, Rochester and Western New York's electric leader. This is the Fan Rochester. WROC-AM, WBEE HD2 Rochester. And streaming online and in the Odyssey app at the Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan Rochester. Sports Update.
No practice for the Bills today. Today being a travel day. The joint practices in Chicago tomorrow with the Bears. The Bills making a roster move today, bringing in a new defensive lineman. His name is Nelson Caesar, defensive end. Chris Trapasso with more.
Kind of that hybrid edge rusher, off-ball linebacker. He's big. He's 6'3", over 250 pounds. He was used a lot off the ball at Houston. Thumper downhill. He's going to set a tone probably in the second half of these next two preseason games and can give you a little bit of pass rush moves on the outside as like a blitzer.
To make room, wide receiver Jalen Virgil and defensive end Justin Hollins go on waived injured. Bills and Bears coverage begins at 6 o'clock Sunday here on The Fan. Former Buffalo Sports Radio host Art Wander has passed. Wander was 98. Jays and Cubs right now. It's the Cubs leading 1-0 in the sixth. Gene Battaglia, The Fan, Rochester.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
We'll talk Buffalo Bills salary cap and the James Cook contract with Greg Thompson at Cover One. He's stopping by the sports bar here in about 15 minutes or so as we welcome you back in. I'm Danger. That's Battaglia. I see this bit of breaking news here, courtesy of Jordan Schultz at Fox. Quinshon Judkins is still not officially under contract with the Browns, but he will not face any formal charges in the case against him here. He's been the prosecutors have declined to move forward, so now Judkins could return to the Browns, and that should be happening here in the near future.
Okay. And we get this in the same day we get the Rashee Rice news that, September 30th will be his... Wait, I forgot about that. We haven't dealt with that if you're in the NFL?
No suspension yet for Rice, and he can play as long as he's not suspended. He can play through that process, the appeals process, everything. It has to be all done before any sort of suspension comes to light. I only bring up the Browns because I know we're going to showcase a Week 1 game as we do every day at this time here in the sports bar.
Yeah, and today's one, I think we could pick this one because we know who is the better team, but are you willing to lay the points? Today's matchup, drumroll, Bengals and Browns. Browns at home getting 5.5. I thought it would have been more, but that's it. What is this game about? Which team does this matter more to? I mean, right, we don't even know who's at quarterback for the Browns, but in Week 1, does it even really matter at this point? Like, that offense is going to come out and shock everyone, and they're going to match Cincinnati point for point. We know the Browns aren't going to be good this year. But it's the Bengals' danger, and this is the cautionary thing. They've got a penchant at the beginning of the season to fart around here. Mm-hmm. Under Zach Taylor, Cincinnati is just 1-5 in season openers, including a terrible loss at home last year to the Patriots. But Joe Burrow's healthy, and we're seeing Joe Burrow and his mates in the preseason, and maybe they are taking this a little more seriously, knowing, hey, in this conference, we've got a pile games here. We just missed out. I'm going to say, forget the 1-5 in season opener record, and I am going to take the Bengals and lay the 5.5, buck the trend.
I'm in agreement with you on this one. I think what we saw of Joe Burrow Week 1 of the preseason, I don't want to overreact to the preseason, but we haven't seen a lot of Joe Burrow and his fellow Bengals on the offensive side of the ball in preseasons past. He's been hurt. He hasn't played. They are slow starters, as you mentioned. That record says it all. It doesn't lie. But this does feel different. This offense now with really no distraction on the offensive side of the ball. You've got Burrow, you've got Chase, you've got Higgins. They're all there. They're ready to go. Chase Brown is a nice back in the backfield for Cincinnati. The defense is the question in Cincinnati. That defense is going to be terrible. It's going to be a really, really bad defense.
And do you have an offense in Cleveland that can take advantage of that?
That's where I would say I don't think so. I mean, as bad as Cincinnati's defense is, if Joe Flacco scores 30 points on you, that's that feels, even for a bad defense, that feels out of the realm of possibility for a Joe Flacco-led Cleveland offense, who, as we were just mentioning, one of their best players hasn't even signed with their draft pick, their running back draft pick from this year, hasn't even signed with the team yet. So it's still a dysfunctional. Both of these teams are dysfunctional messes. Let's just say that one has the deodorant of a really good quarterback.
Look, Cleveland is all about finding the quarterback next year. What they did, okay, the generational talent in Travis Hunter, no, let's get ourselves in a position to draft a quarterback next year, and what will help is actually losing games. So go out there and send out Joe Flacco for the first month of the season. I really would have been interested, though, had not Shedeur gotten hurt. It's the oblique injury. He's not going to play this week. Just what would have happened if Shedeur moved the ball against the Eagles?
And what about Kenny Pickett, the lost man in all of this, right? Everybody kind of has forgotten and dismissed Kenny Pickett. Like, the Browns dealt for Kenny Pickett. They traded for Kenny Pickett. They invested in Kenny Pickett. It was it's funny to think that he's just been kind of like the odd man out in all of this, but he might be the guy that eventually supplants Joe Flacco if things don't go well.
The topic tomorrow here on the Sports Bar Danger, Spencer German, 92.3 The Fan in Cleveland. He's a Rochester native. He will join us. He was actually at the joint practice yesterday.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so we'll kind of get his thoughts on the Browns, because there's so many Browns fans, and let's face it, they're the team that's the train wreck. Tell me more about this Browns team here. Gosh. What would that Bills-Browns line be in December?
You imagine a player for the Buffalo Bills having 8 speeding infractions against him since being signed by the team. 8. And that's the best player on their team.
And it's just like, oh, yeah, that's Miles being Miles. Miles is being Miles.
I mean, I think as stern as it got was Stefanski saying we're disappointed. Oh, you're disappointed? Really? You're disappointed? What does that mean? Does that mean anything to anybody?
So after number 8.
8.
You can be disappointed, but here it is, Danger. As long as you prepay the ticket and you waive your right, you don't have to appear in court. It was $250.
Yeah, so he can do it as often as he wants. It's like you're paying for an amusement park. Except the amusement park is the expressway. I don't know, man.
I would just say, hey, maybe get tougher laws in that regard in Ohio. Just me.
But I just think I think about what that would be like if Sean McDermott had to answer questions about, he doesn't have to answer questions about Deion Dawkins and his drifting, because Deion Dawkins does that on his own time, in his own, in his own facility where he can do it legally.
Boy, you think back. Adolphus Washington.
Yeah,
Adolphus Washington.
Is that gun underneath the seat,
in
right?
An amusement park, because hey, I don't want the amusement park to be closed. Who was the offensive lineman in a field? All these names.
Cyrus Kwanjo.
Yes,
Cyrus Kwanjo. Let us never forget Cyrus Kwanjo. What disaster! What a disaster! How far this team has come. We take for granted how far this team has come.
The Zay Jones video.
That was bad.
Scary. That's scary.
That was bad. How far this team has come. We take for granted just how far. I mean, the drought feels like forever ago, doesn't it?
So the first year we're doing the camp show, I remember this because you're in Spain. Okay, so I'm doing the show with Duffy, and we're ready to go on. It's 2:57. The alert comes over. Marcel Darius suspended the first 4 games of the season. I'm like, okay, well, I guess we're talking about something else here. Ladies and gentlemen, let's share some details. Like, yeah, it was one thing after another with this franchise.
It was impossible. Impossible. But you hear stories like that, like the Garrett story, and their reaction is, well, yeah, we're just kind of disappointed. I know you're not going to move off of Myles Garrett. He's the best player on the team. But, my God, 8? Can we be a better citizen? I don't know. 8 feels excessive. 1, 2, hell, even 3. I'd be like, okay, let's tighten it up a little bit. 8!
9! 10! The speeding ticket. Myles Garrett. Very good.
He needs one more.
9 times.
One more. We'll get Greg Thompson on with us next. Turns out what the agent for James Cook was putting out there may not have been entirely accurate. What he was feeding the insiders that feed us all the information as fans.
Well, he gets $15 million guaranteed, right off the top. Oh, wait, you're including the money he was already under contract. Okay. Sure, if that's what it took to get the deal done, to let the agent spin out there, I don't think Brandon Beane is losing a minute of sleep over this one.
No. In fact, if James Cook is a little bit salty, he should be salty at his agent. Like, does he really believe that he got the best deal possible? I like the idea that he signed with Buffalo. That I think when we talk to people like, what would you do if you were James Cook? You don't blame the guy for holding in. You don't blame the guy for wanting to get top dollar while he can. But at the same time, there is something to being a part of this team with the Super Bowl window, with that quarterback, the devil that you know versus the devil that you don't. Does James Cook play with even more of a chip on his shoulder, knowing that is he playing angry? Yeah, he's got to be somewhat satiated, but is he angry at his agent for?
Well, let's hit the fast forward button here. At the end of this contract, and let's assume the Bills get it done. They're going to get one while James Cook is here. Is he the third best running back in Bills history? Oh, Fred Jackson. No, stop. Stop. You can make the argument he is right now. Right now. Does he go past Thurman? Or that other guy?
You win the Super Bowl, you're goated.
That's correct.
You win the Super Bowl.
That's correct. And you look at Thurman, and I love Thurman. Everybody who grew up, he's doing casino ads.
Hall of Famer.
He has made a good living for himself. He is loved. You are loved in Western New York forever.
You goated.
Yeah, look, James Cook has a chance to put himself ahead of Thurman.
Yeah, to immortalize himself in Western New York. We'll talk about his deal. Greg Thompson at Cover One. Great with the cap. We'll break it all down. And we'll get his thoughts on this weekend's preseason action. Joint practice tomorrow for the Buffalo Bills in Chicago. Greg Thompson at Cover One next on The Fan.
update.
It's a travel day for the Buffalo Bills. Joint practices with the Bears tomorrow in Chicago. Steve Tasker today on One Bills Live on why these practices are a good thing.
It's really a good experience for the young players and for the entire team, even the veterans, to go out and get outside themselves a little bit and have to adjust on the fly. And it is a chance for the ones to go on ones. Number one defense is going to, the Bears' number one defense is going to be going against Josh and this offensive line and James Cook and the rest.
Bills and Bears, our coverage Sunday will begin at 6 o'clock here on The Fan. Greg Thompson from Cover One will join us next to talk about James Cook's contract and other things Bills related. Former Buffalo Sports Radio host Art Wander has passed. Wander was 98. Rochester Red Wings home tonight, looking to make it 2 in a row against Syracuse. Majors Cubs 1-0. They lead in Toronto. They're in the 7th. Orioles up 5-0 on Seattle in the rain delay in the 6th. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader. The Fan, Rochester.
Straight up with no chaser. You're in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Welcome back into the sports bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. We're glad you're with us. Welcoming in Greg Thompson to Cover One. He's a guy that we lean on when we want to talk about Bills, salary cap concerns, contracts, and all of the like. And with James Cook getting his deal yesterday, Greg, we thought it would be a good time to have you on. First of all, what are you hearing? What do you think is real when it comes to the James Cook contract? Because we're hearing everything from the guaranteed money is actually inflated to what he's actually getting. I mean, everything is kind of pointing to the Bills getting the better side of this deal.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've certainly seen a lot of that dialogue, and it's been interesting to see. I think there's a lot of technicalities being argued. A lot of the things that are in there of right now, what is technically guaranteed at the time of signing isn't as big as what a lot of people expected. But an awful lot of those are, things that the next level of guarantees don't kick in until February 9th of next year. Well, February 9th is still part of this league year. You don't flip over until like March 15th. So in order to release him before that, and not let those future guarantees hit, you would have to take on a ridiculous amount of dead cap hit in this season when we don't have extra room. So you hear people use the term practically guaranteed. And I think it's very reasonable to say that I think it's like 24, 25 million of this deal is practically guaranteed. And that between this year and the next 2 years, James Cook is going to get 3 years and a little over $30 million. And then we'll see. They could get out of it in 2028 and 2029. Even then, it's kind of painful, but they could if they wanted to, if things really went downhill. Very likely he's set up well for the future, but he's going to get more cash this year. He was going to get $5.3 million in cash. Now he's going to get $10.3 million. He helped the team out a little bit. His cap hit for this year went down by about $2 million. Next year, it's actually a deflated number. Even next year, the first year of the new extension, his cap hit's only $5.8 million. So everyone's worried about the future and what this means for extending other guys. $5.8 million next year is very manageable. And then, again, the year after that, it's $13 million and so on. They'll deal with that when they get to those years. But I think that this is – I was a guy who I am in the group of just keep drafting a third to fifth round running back every other year forever and ever. Amen. I think that's the way that I would do team building. But that's when I heard he wanted, Saquon Barkley money or Derrick Henry money. At this number, Aaron Jones money, I can't even argue. I can't push back.
Right.
This is a good deal by Brandon Beane. He's a talented player. This is totally doable.
Yeah, and anybody that suggests the Bills should spend a first or second round pick on a running back next year, Greg, we're going to block them. Okay, at least we don't have to have that conversation. Greg Thompson from Cover One is our guest. So now, Greg, Cook deal, and you mentioned this does give the Bills a little bit of relief. What's your best estimate here for the Bills in terms of the cap, what they might be able to do, or for that matter, and I guess I'll go here, what they might be able to eat? Like there is one bad contract on this team right now in Curtis Samuel. If he's not on the field, I guess you have to carry him. So your thoughts on where the Bills are for the cap here in 2025?
So they're right on the borderline. I think they're in a position where they still need to do a couple more tweaks. And fortunately for them, there's a very, very easy one. they have not restructured Deion Dawkins' contract. And whenever I look at restructures, like they've already done some, like a Ed Oliver, a Spencer Brown, Josh Allen, young guys where there's no realistic scenario where you're releasing those next year. And I know Deion Dawkins isn't young any longer, but is there any realistic scenario where you're releasing Deion Dawkins next year? I don't think that's even feasibly possible. So restructuring him to me is a shell game activity. You're just moving money around. We're going to pay him that same amount of money this year and next year anyways. Wherever we move those pieces around isn't really a big deal. For him, it's $9.8 million. That's more than enough money for in-season moves, even a trade day, a trade deadline move. Maybe I don't think that they will eat something like Curtis Samuel, but possibly you could put something like that on the table. That's the easy lever to pull. They haven't done it yet, which I think is kind of interesting. And right now they're right there at the borderline where I don't even know if they could do cut down day, because I think a lot of fans don't realize that the KJ Hamlers of the world and the Jamarcus Ingrams of the world do have some guaranteed money that when we're whatever 37 guys we're about to cut, when they get cut, there is some small dead cap hit. And when you add up 37 of them, it is a real amount of money that every team takes on in cap hits when they go down to the real salary cap in the season with all 53 contracts. So I think they will have to tweak some. I don't think they want to mess with a Dawson Knox contract or a Matt Milano contract. Those are ones where you do want to leave yourself the option next year in case you need to do something different. But Deion Dawkins to me is the easy button. I think you press that and it gives you plenty of cushion to work with going into the year and maybe even a little bit of rollover for next year.
Greg, what do you do with Curtis Samuel?
I beg some team from around the league who is weak at the wide receiver position to take him in a trade, even if it's literally, I will give you our 2027 seventh rounder and Curtis Samuel for your 2027 seventh rounder. His is one of those contracts where because of the guarantees in the salary, it is materially better to trade him than to cut him, like $6.5 million better, 7.3 total. Where cutting him, we basically only get the roster spot. We get no financial benefit. It actually might cost us a little bit more to cut him. I think it was like a $440,000 ding more than what he counts now, but you get the roster spot. So if you absolutely had to and he's not going to contribute, you could just eat the money and move on. If we got another team to take him, even if it had to go the other way, hey, we'll give you Curtis Samuel and a sixth to get back your seventh. Like, we'll pay you to take him. It would open up $7 million in cap space. And you think about it that way, hey, would you trade a sixth to get $7 million in cap space for someone's seventh? And when you think about it that way, well, yeah, I might do that. So the hard part is, if he was healthy, you might be able to find a wide receiver desperate team who doesn't already have Khalil Shakir and Elijah Moore that you could probably sell on, like, hey, he can still do the fun gadget stuff. Him not being healthy, I think we're stuck. I think that maybe we get out of it by being able to hide him on the in-season IR, where we get to keep a Terrell Shavers, or we get to keep a Laviska Shenault, or we get to keep somebody else who can contribute. And then maybe he gets healthy and we have another injury somewhere else in the wide receiver core, and then you could bring him off the IR when that time comes.
Yeah, Greg, kind of not really cap question, but more of a football question, because if there's an area that we get down to cut down day and the Bills might be looking at the waiver wire, what position may that be? Do they have enough right now at the wide receiver position? I mean, we like Shavers, certainly the coaching staff does. Shenault may be an answer, but they're going to be often looking a little thin there heading to the Chicago game here this week.
So I'm not there yet, because everything that I'm hearing is Shakir is at no risk for week one. Josh Palmer practiced in full yesterday. The only guy who's been healthy the whole time is Keon Coleman. Elijah Moore has been little dings. All those things lead me to believe that the 4 or 5 guys that we really planned on anyways are going to be there week one and be ready. So if I hear that changes, well, of course, that could change my equation of how I would create the roster. But going through it from that standpoint, Terrell Shavers isn't competing with Elijah Moore. He isn't competing with Khalil Shakir. He's competing with Edifuan Ulafosio. He's competing with Jamarcus Ingram. He's competing with guys who are going to be that 51st, 52nd, 53rd guy because, yes, they can contribute at the line of scrimmage at their regular position, but they can be a gunner on punt coverage. They can be on the new version of the kick return and the kick coverage team. They can play special teams. And I think we're seeing some of that. Like, I think Dorian Strong is the guy who's going to play a big role there. I think that's where a Cam Lewis and a Reggie Gilliam keep their roster spots. Jordan Hancock will be able to play in there. And when we get down to that last one, I think that's the kind of role we're going to be looking at is we know Terrell Shavers can play some wide receiver and can do that, but can he get a jersey on game day because he can play special teams?
Greg, is there a surprise cut in the future for the Buffalo Bills that might be cap related? And I look at the defensive line, which they invested heavily in, of course, this offseason. A Dwayne Carter, a veteran, a Daquan Jones. I feel like they love Daquan Jones and they wouldn't do that. But could it happen? Is there a relief? Is there benefit to potentially doing that, given all that they've invested in the defensive line?
So the key question is the key part is the last part you said. Is there benefit? There is only one player where there is any actual cap benefit to releasing him beyond like marginal low-level players where you save $1 million or whatever by cutting him, and that is Daquan Jones. So, and people will bring up an A.J. Epinesa, a Dwayne Carter, a Curtis Samuel, Cam Lewis and Jamarcus Ingram come up often. DeMar Hamlin, I'll get questions about Dane Jackson, guys like that. All of them are fighting for a roster spot and are a possibility, but is purely talent, contribution, and roster equations, not salary cap space, because almost all of them will cost more to release than to just keep them. We won't get any benefit. Daquan Jones is the one where it is $5 million in cap savings to cut him. I agree with you. We don't have any other traditional one-tech on the team. We don't have any other stout run-defending defensive tackle. I think we can use Larry Ogunjobi and Deion Walker and TJ Sanders in a pinch and maybe Dwayne Carter. I think those are guys who can try to fill in there as needed, but all of them are better pass rushers than they are run defenders. So having literally none of those guys, I think would be pretty risky. So I don't expect that to happen. But in theory, he is one of the guys that there at least is some financial reason that it could factor into the equation. So if they felt like he was not a vast improvement and like maybe age was catching up to him and that he was on the verge of just straight up being beat out by another guy, and then it's equal footing and now you factor in the cap space element, now all of a sudden it could be, all right, we're going to have to bite the bullet and just get the cap savings down.
Greg Thompson from Cover One, breaking down the cap and other things Bills related. Greg, just kind of walk us through here when it comes to the cap and the two guys who aren't going to be available the first 6 weeks of the season, Ogunjobi and Hoyt. Do the Bills have to account for them? Do they get cap relief? And the second part of this equation, it's really speculative, but how does this all kind of shake out there once we get to October?
So there's two different areas that you look at with this. One's the roster construction. The second is the cap. The salary cap is what it is. You don't really get any benefit. I know in hockey, a lot of hockey fans know that when you put somebody on IR, you kind of get a coupon back that you don't take the cap hit. I think that's a really interesting mechanism. I'd love for the NFL to look at that, but that is not the case in football. In football, guaranteed money is guaranteed money. If they're on the salary cap, whether they are on injured reserve, whether they are on the PUP, the physically unable to perform list, or whether they are on the reserve suspended list, they count the exact same as a player who's on the 53-man roster. Now, on the actual roster construction mechanisms, you can at least hide them. So the two, Hoyt and Ogunjobi, do not count against the 53-man roster. So realistically, we're already starting with a 55-man roster. You get to keep two extra guys because those two would be obviously roster locks by themselves. And now you get to keep two extra guys that you normally wouldn't have to cut, and you can wait and see, do we experience injuries in those first 6 weeks that somebody would go to IR, and now you get to bring those guys off with no, without having to cut somebody. The other one is now you get into spots like Cedric Van Pran Granger, Max Hairston. I don't think so, but maybe Khalil Shakur. Our conversation on Curtis Samuel. Well, now, besides maybe Samuel, those other guys are obviously roster locks. We're not going to release Max Hairston or Khalil Shakur or Cedric Van Pran Granger, but maybe you can hide them with the new rule where before you used to have like the Reed Ferguson or the Andre Roberts memorial, hey, go wait in the parking lot for a day and we'll sign you back tomorrow. They don't make teams do that anymore. You now can designate somebody for the in-season PUP or the in-season injured reserve without needing to expose them to waivers, and you can just slide them over. So now if you say we were to do Samuel and Van Pran Granger and Hairston, now besides the two that we already identified with the suspensions, now you're talking about a 56th, 57th, and 58th roster spot that you could now open up. And now you're talking about all of those guys, the Terrell Shavers, the maybe even an additional guy in the secondary, Dwayne Carter being a lock, being able to keep both Cam Lewis and Jamarcus Ingram and Dane Jackson. You're now talking about all of those fringe guys that are potential cut-down day casualties at least buy themselves 4 more weeks or 6 more weeks to make a name for themselves or to be cushion in case we get an injury somewhere else. So unfortunately, no cap relief, but maybe a little bit of roster machinations where we can hide some talent and not lose them to another team.
We're talking Buffalo Bills salary cap with Greg Thompson at Cover One here in the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia on the Fan Rochester. And it's an inevitability, Greg, that whenever a player gets signed, fans will immediately say, great, nice job, now do X. And it feels like Connor McGovern and Osiris Torrance are next to get fed from that Buffalo Bills offensive line. Are there other names out there? And what do you think the timetable is here for Brandon Beane to get back to work and signing some of these guys that are core pieces?
So I would say this year, between now and the beginning of the year, the only real candidate is Connor McGovern. I don't think any of the other – beyond that, you're talking about guys who just signed, like a Joey Bosa or Ogunjobi, the other one-year guys. Now that Cook is extended – there literally are, I guess AJ Epinesa technically is the only other one where there's like an actual roster piece with an expiring contract after the season. And I guess David Edwards would be in the mix, but I don't think that Edwards or Epinesa are realistic extension candidates. I think Connor McGovern is just part of the budget and honestly part of talking with Aaron Cromer. If Cedric Van Pran Granger was having some phenomenal healthy camp, maybe it's a different stance. But right now, he's my number one guy on the rankings of like who's next to be retained. He would be my top guy. I think the number matters. I think that you have to have a number that fits the Bills' plans and makes him and his agent happy. But I would put that there. And then next year, Osiris Torrance comes into that window the same way that Benford, Bernard, Shakir, and Cook were this year, where they'll be through their first 3 years of their rookie deal, and next summer he'll be eligible to sign an extension, and then I would fully expect him to be the number one option at that point.
I've never heard of a player being out with pelvic soreness. Greg, like at what point are we like concerned that Tyler Bass might not be ready week one? Because, well, we were having that conversation last year when he was struggling. Well, you're going to be underwater on this contract. And correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, we like Tyler Bass. We certainly want him to kick. But if he's not available, your thoughts on a position we all kind of just were taking for granted, just not too long ago.
Yeah, as a happily married man, I haven't suffered from pelvic soreness since like college. But I think as a kicker, I'm not very similar to the comments on Khalil Shakir. I don't think that there's anything to be concerned about right now. Obviously, them bringing in a Caden Davis and having another kicker here is something. And it needs to be monitored. And I would say the third preseason game is where I would get concerned is that if they don't get him any reps through here, all of a sudden now I'm going to be there. We're like, hey, we can't afford an extra roster spot for a second kicker. Like at some point here, we got to see you do some work. So I'm this is similar to Spencer Brown, to Deion Dawkins, to Khalil Shakir. I haven't heard anything that makes me concerned for the regular season, but at some point here, and for me, it'll be the end of next week, that if we get to the end of next week and we're going into that third preseason game and he's still not ready to take a kick, now you get into just the practicality of like, hey, the first game against Baltimore, you're going to have 0 live reps. You're going to have 0 actual real kicks in the game. So at some point here, you do run into just the practicality of, is he going to be ready for that game? And I don't think you can afford to roster 2 kickers. So now you're talking about, do you have to put him on an in-season injured reserve? And are you going to get the reps with Brad Robbins as the holder? And just all those different things would make me concerned, because it is a new holder and it's not just going back into the same, Sam Martin or the guys, the same 3 guys you've had forever. Like, hey, we need some time on task here to be able to do this. So I'm not there. For me, it's going to be Thursday, Friday of next week that if we don't see some progress in that area, I would then start to get concerned.
Greg, if you were Sean McDermott, how would you manage the reps for your starters?
So coming into the year, in a perfect world, I think I've seen enough stuff where, we lose to the Zach Wilson-led Jets and we dig a ridiculous hole against the Cardinals and we stub our toe against the Steelers. And, we've had a lot of 0-1 starts that I think would have been avoidable if we were a little more tuned up and ready and a little more rust knocked off. However, I don't think I could realistically look at 29 names on the injury list and say, yeah, put everybody out there. So I think the lesser of evils is we got to do the bubble wrap thing here. I can't put anyone out there. Hell, look at Taron Johnson. You have guys who just don't have that halfway switch. They can't go to 5 on the scale of 10. When they're on the field, they're a 10 out of 10, and he can't help himself but throw his body at other large humans making big hits. You got to save those guys from themselves. We cannot put those guys out there. We cannot afford. Thank God it didn't turn into something serious with Taron Johnson, but watching him launch himself at a big running back and come up injured and hurt his neck in the way that it didn't need to be cleared from the concussion protocol, just sent shivers down my spine. We cannot afford for that to happen. I see Matt Milano flying to the sideline and making an awesome hit on a guy, but all I care about is, wait, did he get up? Is everything good? I'm watching Joey Bosa play 2 series. I don't care if we put Joey Bosa in bubble wrap until December, let alone a preseason game. All that matters is this team being healthy in the playoffs. So I'm all for wrapping them up. Again, if everybody was healthy, maybe I'm a little more aggressive, but the reality is we can't do it.
Yeah, no, just let's just get through this. This is Greg Thompson, our guest here. Last one for me, Greg, and it's the younger guys here. We're done with the Fisher portion of camp. We're now looking toward the final 53. Is there a younger player, maybe a guy that didn't quite make it last year that you're keeping an eye on? I'll give you one guy that I want to see a little bit more from. To Corey Couch, I thought had a pretty good game against the Giants. Who's a guy that you're keeping an eye on here against the Bears this week?
So I do think there's some fun. Obviously, I think Joe Andreessen has even graduated out of that group and moved himself up into a whole nother one. I think honestly, Christian Wilkerson is the kind of guy that when I was there at the blue and red scrimmage, I literally had to get my phone out and be like, wait a minute, who's 82? Who is this guy? Because I just, a lot of those guys, you don't memorize the numbers yet of what number they are on the roster. The same thing. I'd kind of forgotten what number Eddie Ulofoshio was. And I was like, oh, hey, that was actually pretty good. That was a pretty nice play. So some of the guys that I know are going to make the roster, but I like getting to see them play. I don't think Jordan Hancock's going to play a ton in the beginning of the season, but he's had some really nice plays that we've been going through here. I loved getting to see Deion Walker and TJ Sanders get more reps and get more chances to get on the field where they'll be a smaller rotational guy in the regular season. So some of those ones are there, but guys who are fringe fighting ones, we talked about Shavers, we've talked about, Cam Lewis and Jamarcus Ingram. I think, maybe an out of nowhere guy would be someone like a Christian Wilkerson making a push for something there and being a surprise, or again, with the Balin Spector getting hurt, Dorian Williams being hurt, all the guys losing reps there. Maybe there's a sneaky linebacker somewhere. I don't think Jenkins is going to make that push, but, that's where we've seen, what was it, a couple years ago? I don't think anybody had Delshon Phillips making the opening day roster. The year he made it is like the last special team spot. Maybe that's a place where a sneaky linebacker is the one that surprises everybody. I think the injuries have kind of cleared that up, but that's a spot where I can see it making sense.
Greg, really love the work you and the crew at Cover One are doing, covering the Buffalo Bills, breaking down film, and in this instance, helping us learn a little bit more about the Bills' cap situation. Where can we get more of your work?
Yeah, come on over. You can find me on all social media places at Greg Thompson, or come on over after you listen to the show here. You can search for Cover One on YouTube. Come and find our show there. We did a lot of those breakdowns last night, and we'll be doing it all season long with you guys.
Greg, I always feel like we're smarter listening to you break this down in a simple way. Greg, thanks for your time today. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure. Happy to come on anytime.
You got it. There he is, Greg Thompson. Check him out at Cover One on YouTube. While you're on YouTube, don't forget about the Fan Rochester. We stream live every afternoon from 3 until 6.
That's what I love about the world we live in today. If you have good content, you don't have to have the title of I work for this or that. It just Cover One has done this on their own.
Yeah, good content is good content, and they're sharp. They do a great job breaking down film. Love that we've got Greg on with us to break down the James Cook contract and also look at what they could do there with the cap. Anything there that stood out to you? The Daquan Jones thing is interesting to me. The idea in going into training camp, I thought of this too. Like, that's a guy that if you moved off of him, there's actually a cap benefit to moving off of him. Can you move off of him?
You cannot. Because of what happened with the two positive, well, really the one, you signed his replacement, did you not, in Ogunjobi?
Well, and I would say you also drafted Deion Walker.
That's true, but you really need a veteran. You can't just turn the keys over to Walker at this point. I don't think that, once, and you don't get any savings, by the way, against the cap. You have to account for that all 17, 18 weeks once week one hits, unless you're going to trade him. Maybe you trade him at some point, but at that point, I don't know. The fact that we talked and they made Daquan available and he's making it clear that he's happy with this different role on this team. I've been saying this all along when it comes to the defensive line. I think this is all going to kind of sort itself out. There will be an injury. Something will come up. It'll clear itself up by the time October comes around. It's the Samuel thing. Is it worth it, Danger, to call up Carolina and say, hey, we're going to give you Curtis Samuel and a 5th-round pick. Send us back a 7th-round pick.
I don't like the 5th. I would listen to a 6th. I would say that a team that were to do that now would be foolish because we haven't seen him on the field. He is not on the field.
You need to get him on the field.
He needs to get on the field. I mean, we need to see Curtis Samuel have the kind of game that Sammy Watkins had the day before they dealt him, right? Like a showcase game.
So if we get to the Buccaneer preseason game and 4 targets are for Curtis Samuel, all right, yep. Ring that phone.
Is exactly why we're doing this. We need to show everybody, the league, that this guy can still play and he is healthy. And then we find a team that's willing to do a pick swap for that cap relief.
A lot of people high on Wilkerson. He nearly came down with a nice catch, though. But he feels like practice squad to me. He feels like, all right, Shavers, 2.0.
Shavers is graduated to a point now where I think we're strongly considered. He's graduated to the point where if he's on the practice squad, another team might pick him up. Wilkerson is still kind of a secret, right? He's still kind of, he's like Shavers was last year. Somebody that everybody I think likes, but is he really making the team? I don't know. We'll see. And for that matter, is Shavers making the team? Do you run the risk of putting him on the practice squad and saying, I mean, if Samuel's on the roster,
if your Samuel's on the roster, how do you can't take 6?
You're not.
You can.
We got to get to happy hour.
I guess you could, but I don't see them happening.
866-4FAN if you want to pull up a stool and join us for happy hour. 585-866-4326. A lot to unpack from Greg Thompson. Cover One. Also, Mark Grody, who joined us in the 3 o'clock hour to preview Bears, Bills. We'll get to all of that, plus shots and last call. Again, 866-4326.
Electric, Rochester and Western New York's electric leader. This is the Fan Rochester, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, the Fan Rochester. WROC AM, WBEE HD2, and W239BF Rochester, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, the Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Today being a travel day for the Buffalo Bills. In Chicago tomorrow, there will be joint practices with the Bears. Bills bringing a new defensive lineman today. His name is Nelson Caesar. Chris Trapasso with more.
Kind of that hybrid edge rusher, off-ball linebacker. He's big. He's 6'3", over 250 pounds. He was used a lot off the ball at Houston. Thumper downhill. He's going to set a tone probably in the second half of these next two preseason games and can give you a little bit of pass rush moves on the outside as like a blitzer.
Preseason game number 2 coming up, Bills and Bears. 6 o'clock for our coverage Sunday here on The Fan. Former Buffalo Sports Radio host Art Wander has passed. Wander was 98. Wings home tonight against Syracuse. Vlad Guerrero Jr. with a 2-run homer, putting the Jays ahead of the Cubs 2-1. They're in the 8th. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Hey, welcome back into the Sports Bar. It's happy hour. Thanks for joining us and making us part of your afternoon at 95.7 FM, AM 950. You can hear us in the Odyssey, iHeart, or TuneIn apps. You can watch us on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester. We also stream on Twitch every afternoon from 3 until 6 at The Fan Rochester. I am Danger. That is Battaglia.
Maybe James Cook should have just balled out this year and cashed in at the end of the year. Think he's going to have any regrets? You learn that boy, this agent really, he just flat out lied, just misrepresenting the numbers here. Not that it matters, not that it cares. I mean, the Bills got a pretty good deal on this.
Feels like it, and I was always of the opinion that that was what was going to happen, that the Bills and Cook were always so far apart that there was just no way they were going to see eye to eye on what Cook believed his worth was. So it is a pleasant surprise that they did get this deal done, and it shouldn't be surprising that the agent is kind of bending the truth a little bit in terms of what his client got when he was presenting it to the insiders that share all this information.
Yeah, but you would think, what does the agent want to do here? Get more clients.
That's right.
And does this really help your case? I mean, it kind of looks shifty.
If you're a casual fan and you just heard the news and you didn't really follow up on it, like this is day 2 of us talking about it. Most fans hear the news like, that's great, on to the next thing. We're still talking about it because it didn't feel it when it was announced. It was like, okay, well, first of all, $30 million is not the most guaranteed money given to a running back in the last 5 years. That's just flat out inaccurate.
And then talking about upfront guaranteed money, $15 million. Hold on, timeout. You're including the contract he was already due to make $5 million this year? No. No, you're really bending it. So really, no, that's only 10. The bottom line is that it'll eclipse Kyren Williams by just a little bit. We can talk about bonus or average annual value, and as Greg Thompson pointed out, there's a lot of different ways you can kind of look at this, but to hear the way Thompson explains it, what's the worst case scenario? 2028, the Bills could get out from under it in 2 years.
Sure,
it's not that bad.
They could. Man, I hope they don't, though, because he is if he stays healthy and the way his career has gone, the way they've managed his reps and his usage, you could see him having a very productive career for an extended amount of time, and I hope it's in Buffalo.
The idea that he can be the third best running back in Bills franchise history, and you're talking about 2 other Hall of Famers, one guy that, I don't know, do they put that other guy that wore 32? Is he going? Where's the Wall of Fame in the new stadium? I don't know, but I digress. You're going to hold James Cook in that high regard. He's a big part of this team. And the way this is set up this year with Ray Davis and Ty Johnson, and maybe, dare I say, an Evans or a Gord Jr. that maybe promote one or two, you're going to have a fresh James Cook, you would figure, come playoff time, because you don't need him. He's not Kyron Williams. He's not going to get 75% of the snaps here. This is not going to happen.
It's a good deal for the Bills. It's a good deal by Brandon Beane, and now it's on Cook. It's the devil you know versus the devil you don't. I think a few insiders that we talked to when he was staging his hold-in kind of said, I would probably say stay in Buffalo, even if it means you're taking a little bit less than the $15 million you were looking for. And it turns out that's what he did.
Yeah.
The situation is good. He knows his teammates. He knows what he has in his quarterback. And while he maybe could have gotten the $15 million he was seeking next season with another team, what are you really stepping into? And I don't think you can discount the influence that his older brother had either. I think Dalvin's story is a cautionary tale for James. It's, hey, I got mine when I got mine, but they chewed me up and spit me out, and when the league is done with you, the league is done with you. Seems like James is on a different kind of trajectory, and he has been, even dating back to when he was in college.
This kind of comes within the context of, if this Bills team was at the beginning of this, you're not making this move. Brandon Beane isn't making this move. You are in a win a championship mode right now. That's it. Win a championship right now. And you don't upset the chemistry on this. So it's a win for Beane. It's a win for the Bills. And we're already on to the next thing.
Yeah.
I like the idea that, all right, do they want to free up Deion Dawkins? I don't know. Is there something else on this Bills team that maybe they're missing?
So a restructure from Deion Dawkins is what Greg Thompson was saying could be next.
I'm going to throw you a position right now that I'm a little concerned about. And I said this back in June. Bills don't have enough depth at corner. They really don't. We love Tre'Davious White as a person. We love that he's got some of the flair. I didn't like how a tight end was dragging him a few yards down the field against the Giants. I don't know if he can hold up over 18 weeks. And what do we have in Maxwell Harrison? He's not out there. So that's one position I will point out. The other one being the wide receiver, and this should clear itself up. Josh Palmer should be okay. Shakir should be okay. I don't know. Is Curtis Samuel going to offer you anything? So to hear, okay, maybe the Bills could make another move. And if it is, it wouldn't surprise me at all if it's in season. But this is a Bills team that does – there are some areas in this team that they're pretty thin here, Danger.
The Bills did announce today that they signed defensive end Nelson Caesar
from the San Antonio Brahmas.
Not the Brahmas, Gene. No, the Brahmas, as in the bull. But the Brahmas are beautiful at certain points of the year. If you're vacationing, you could do worse than sitting on the beach of the Bahamas. The Bills releasing receiver Jalen Virgil and defensive end Justin Hollins. There's an open roster spot right now with the Buffalo Bills.
Okay. Well, get somebody in here. Who's kicking? I don't think it's going to be Bass this week, right?
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Right. We still haven't heard what the story is with Bass and whether or not we'll see him on Sunday night. The joint practice tomorrow, the Bills traveling today, so we'll hear more from the team tomorrow. And, of course, we'll get reports on everything happening in Chicago throughout the course of the afternoon.
Yeah, so will the Bills win this game? Tasker said it earlier today. The Bears need to kind of show up in front of their home crowd. The Bears need the quarterback to play pretty well. This game means a lot more to Chicago.
This is Chris Trapasso, our buddy, and Steve Tasker, also our buddy, from One Bills Live earlier today.
I think we will see more game planning-ish type stuff from the Bears in this game.
Yeah, they're playing against the MVP, and you want your guy to look good.
That too.
And you're a new head coach in a town that it's been a minute since they've been any good.
Since they've had a quarterback ever.
Right. They've never had a quarterback. Even McMahon will tell you it's always been rough for quarterbacks in Chicago.
They do not have a 4,000-yard passer ever.
I think the Bears are going to put a lot of eggs in the basket of this preseason game against the Bills. I would expect the Bears to really give it an effort to look good.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying the Bills are going to get their doors blown off, but Josh Josh will probably play 7 snaps, and whatever happens
And
after
Sunday
that,
night, it's national audience.
They're going to want to look good.
Mm-hmm.
So, this could be one of those ugly games, preseason games, where it's like, why don't we do something? And we just don't, because that's not our modus operandi.
Yeah, and I think 5 straight AFC East titles prove that.
Well, that's why they want to look good.
Yeah.
If they look good against this team, they're going to get a little extra benefit from it.
I was going to say that, like, the Bills get a little bit of a pass if they don't look spectacular in the preseason based on how accomplished they've been during the Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane era.
It's like a Super Bowl for the Bears. The way they're describing it.
National television, Bears, Bills, Sunday night.
Tasker said maybe Josh gets out there for 7 snaps or so. I mean, like if Josh, we don't know yet. We haven't heard yet whether or not any of the Bills starters will see the field on Sunday night. We know that the Bears will go out there with their starters, and I guess a lot of that probably hinges on how much work gets done during the joint practice and whether or not you feel like you need to see more out of Josh Allen. I don't know that there's a single Bills fan out there that would say we need to see more of Josh Allen going into that game, but I thought Jim Harbaugh made an interesting point today when he was talking about his starters playing in week 2. Like, our guys want to play, and they don't want the first series of the season to be the first series of the season. They want to get some of that out during the preseason when it doesn't count. So maybe that there's some rationale as to why we could see Josh Allen, but you heard Tasker there saying if Josh goes out there, maybe it's like 7-8 plays and that's it.
That's it. I mean, gosh, it was just last year and 2 years ago, like, we're losing our minds. Like, oh my gosh, this Bills offense doesn't look right. Run him out there again. And this is where we were last year. And why were we like that? Oh my gosh, this Bills offense isn't going to be good without Stephon Diggs. How are they? I
mean, for all the overreaction of the Steelers preseason game last year, I remember the Steelers preseason game was the one, right? Nothing looked coordinated. Everything looked a mess. But they figured it out. And they did go back out the following week, and it wasn't a repeat performance. They weren't sleepwalking the following week. So I think that if you do see the starters on Sunday night, it's in their best interest to show up, show out, and make week 3 of the preseason all about guys fighting for their careers and fighting for their futures.
Can you explain this to me? And anything that happens with the Chiefs, we're going to pay a little bit more attention to, right? We care more about the Chiefs than anybody else in this division right now. But, Danger, explain to me in the best way possible, how is it that Rashee Rice, he's already been sentenced to 30 days in jail, 5 years probation, this for the accident that he caused in Dallas, okay? Wait, they've set the hearing for the NFL discipline for this September 30th? You're kidding, right? Like, we're gonna wait on this till September 30th, even though the law has made up their mind. I mean,
and it won't be Goodell dishing this one out. This is the same judge who dished out the punishment for Deshaun Watson. They're bringing out the heavy hitters,
right? So,
the perceived heavy hitters.
We're talking more than 2 games then, right?
Oh, I think it's a 4 to 6 week. Yeah.
If it's 4 to 6 week, then you're missing the game against the Bills November 2nd.
Most likely.
Yeah, because there will be an appeal in there at some point.
And he can play through this process, including the appeals process. So knowing that it's that late in September, yeah, I mean, the first, 3-4 weeks of the season, he's out there. He's playing for the Chiefs. The middle of the schedule remains to be seen. But if it is a 4 to 6 weeker, do you get Rashee Rice back at the end of the season when you need a push to the playoffs and for the postseason? Yeah, awful convenient for the Chiefs. Just throwing that out there. It's awful convenient. You could have said August 30th, and then we know what his status would be.
I would have thought that, like, right now should have been the time, because it kind of looks like, we need to make sure that for that first game on a Friday night, we need a nice big old fat rating for Chiefs and Chargers down in Brazil. Not that I'm tuning in one way or another because Rashee Rice isn't there or not, but the idea that we need to get the Chiefs off on the right foot for the season.
Well, that's awful cynical of you, Gene. And I would just say it's a good thing that he wasn't caught sports gambling, because, I don't know. Maybe they wouldn't have waited until September 30th to issue a ruling on his.
See, now that's cynical, too, buddy.
Yeah, because if you gamble in the NFL, you're dead. They won't wait. There's no hesitation. You're gone, right?
Which we're fine with, right?
I don't care. Yeah,
right.
you shouldn't
You're
do
fine.
it.
Yeah, you're fine.
You shouldn't do it.
Like, and, for that matter, the 2 Guardians pitchers. Bye.
Yeah, get out of here.
Yeah.
And we'll see how that all plays out. But this, all this was, Gene, this is, I mean, who amongst us hasn't done some drag racing where you cause a multi-car accident, plead guilty to multiple felonies? Who amongst us, right? But don't gamble. Whatever you do, don't gamble. So it'll be September 30th for the disciplinary hearing of Rashee Rice. Bad week for the NFL in terms of their courtroom antics.
Yeah, you've got the John Gruden grab your popcorn. The idea that, oh my gosh, this story, I forget the year, okay, but it comes out in the Commanders investigation, and somehow this email leaks because it was Commanders emails they're going in. It's the Commanders. Well, John Gruden gets his emails, and we're going to expose this. Like, you mean to tell me that was the only thing? Or you know what? We need just to put this out there just in this day and age. And look, 2 things can be true, right? No one is saying, like for John Gruden to do that, no, that's not cool. We all agree. On the other hand, I can commend John Gruden for saying, you know what, this isn't right that this happened to me. I'm not going to accept your settlement. Let's go to court here.
I go, whenever I'm conflicted, I look for the truth. I go to my sources who are incapable of bending the truth. Always honest, always telling a lie. And when we heard Brent Musburger dissect this, we knew exactly what was going on.
First of all, as I told Coach, whoever took you out, John, that was a paid assassin, okay? That was one of the best hit jobs that I've ever been around, okay? They didn't go to their media goombas. They didn't leak this to Adam Schefter or one of those guys who break stories. They first went to the Wall Street Journal. And when Gruden was still coaching after that, then they dumped the rest of it on the New York Times. That was a professional hit job, but I want to tell everybody that I'm not completely sure it was somebody in the NFL. There was a second lawsuit involved, okay, between the owner, Snyder of Washington, and a former general manager. And that means that a lot of outside people had access to those emails.
Brent is the best.
He's the best. And he's, by the way, everything he's saying there, true. So John Gruden continues his fight and won't go to arbitration. He'll see his day in court, as will Vikings defensive coordinator Brian Flores. And I forget how twisted that story is. Everybody kind of forgot about it because he got back in. He's coaching again. He's defensive coordinator. But
honestly, I forgot. I'm like, that was still out there? I thought that was settled.
That didn't go to arbitration either. That will go to court. So Goodell won't have the final say in what happens with that. It'll be a judge and a jury, and everything with both Gruden and Flores should get worked out in the courthouse.
This is where we learn about the discovery phase of a trial, Danger, where you can get emails and photos and everything. And the more we kind of go through the discovery phase, do we want a settlement here, NFL? Like if the NFL is willing to settle now for John Gruden, that number's double. Yeah. Same thing with Brian Flores, because the discovery phase, if you think there was just one email,
no, you could blow the lid off of it.
Yeah.
You could blow the lid off of it. You could find a lot of damaging stuff.
Who else is really nervous in the NFL right now?
Every owner in the NFL is probably nervous. Yeah. And with Flores, man, the teams he is going after, a black eye on all of them. The Giants, the Dolphins, the Broncos, just sloppy in their conducting of interviews. Brian Flores,
and all because Bill Belichick doesn't even understand how to use a cell phone.
That and an owner who was tampering with Tom Brady.
Right? Oh, that too. Yeah.
Right, you got to forget about that. Right, like that was a whole part of it too. Just crazy. But somehow they'll get away with it.
Oh, good. If the discovery phase, if we find out bad things about Tom Brady,
yeah,
yes, absolutely.
I mean, the guy can walk on water, Gene. I don't know what you're talking about. There's nothing that you're going to find negative.
Well, I learned a lot last year becoming a broadcaster, and this year I'm prepared. I'm going to do a better job.
Maybe I'm in the minority. I think he's going to be fine this year. I know last year was rough. There were moments last year where I'm like, oh, that was really insightful. That was really good. And we didn't have to look far. It was that game against the Rams where I'm like, oh, Brady is doing what good analysts do. He's calling out what should have happened instead of what actually happened.
But I still think Greg Olson's way better.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. That I agree with. Bigger name versus bigger talent, and Brady's coasting on his name. I mean, you're Fox and you paid him all that money. You can't put him on the B team. You just can't. So Olson gets screwed in that regard. I think he's a better broadcaster. He's certainly a more talented broadcaster.
Boy, does Fox get a return on their investment for Tom Brady?
Do any of these networks get a return on their investment with the NFL?
I think, honestly, like for that, to answer the question, I think they do it in part because every year they have invite the ad agencies in, and like he will just glad hand some people. He's there just to collect checks.
We were starting to talk about this. Speaking of return on investment, we were talking about this before we got on with Grody. If you're NBC or anybody invested in the NBA, talk about a return on investment. You know, the NBA schedule release feels a lot like the Major League Baseball or NHL schedule release. It's just kind of a non-event.
Well, the baseball's the worst because that's coming up at some point here. Could be next week. Wait a second. The season's still going on. Why do I need to know?
For next year.
Yeah, like, for the NBA, what did they released the Christmas Day games last Friday at 5 o'clock as a news dump. If you need evidence that the NFL has lapped the field as compared to the other professional sports, the NFL makes a whole week out of this in their offseason. And the NBA, it's a 5 o'clock news dump. And if you want, you can go look up your favorite team's schedule because that went out today, and it's not worth talking about, in my opinion.
I love what Goodell said, and I can't remember which book it was quoted in, but Goodell basically admitting we don't compete with the NBA or Major League Baseball or the NHL. We're competing with Google. We're competing with Apple. And when
entertainment, right?
When I saw that quote, I'm like, yeah. He's kind of right. I mean, that's the power of the brand that has become the NFL. And they want to be as global and recognized as iPhone, as Apple, as Google. And they're getting there. I think the ultimate goal for the NFL is, can we have a sport in a league that is more popular than any soccer league in the world? That's a tall order. But that's who they're competing with. They're competing with a global sport, a global brand. They're not competing with the NBA.
No.
Those days are done.
Meanwhile, we have this from Marshawn today. This is a baseball note because I thought interesting that ESPN kind of opted out of their deal. Like, really? I know ESPN's kind of hurting, but then, okay, maybe with the NFL coming in and the merger, they just want to clear the action. We're going to get more NFL, and we're going to shy away from baseball. Seems like baseball really isn't doing all that much to save and get back in this. Marshawn is reporting that the leading candidate for Sunday Night Baseball is now NBC, with Apple getting a package and taking the Home Run Derby, which is like one of the few premier events in baseball, Netflix All-Star Game.
Feels about right. Yeah, fine. I mean, this Sunday Night Baseball is comforting. It's comfort food. If it's not on ESPN and it's on NBC, okay.
But what NBC is doing now, you could see, is like they're going to have sports year-round between the NFL and, that's why Apple's going to be brought into this. When the NFL comes around, there still is baseball. Okay, you baseball fans go over to Apple over here.
You mentioned that deal with ESPN and the NFL. I saw another Goodell quote that basically said that they're not going, I'm paraphrasing, that they're not going to interfere with ESPN's journalism or coverage of the NFL.
Yeah.
Big red flag. Giant lies. Giant lies.
They can hire who they want to hire, can they not? Are they going to really hire investigative journalists? No, like they'll probably let some things ride, Van Netta near Wickersham, but when it comes time for contract renewal, can't afford you.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
I wonder what that merger actually looks like. If who from the NFL Network merges into ESPN, who from ESPN kind of goes away because the NFL Network gobbles up some of those positions. That'll be interesting from a media standpoint. It'll be interesting to see what shakes out. We got to get to a round of shots.
Yeah, we've got some baseball things to get to here today, including your Cubbies. Why
can't win a series?
No, they can't. There is a mascot that is suing his own team. We'll tell you about.
Suing? I'm sorry. Who's he suing?
We'll get to that.
Okay.
And they call it the Chiron. What's the Chiron? That's just the graphic who explains who's talking on a screen. Like for you, everybody watching right now on YouTube, you see Mike Danger. There's the Chiron that says Mike Danger. We had a very unfortunate misspelling today in the NFL.
A misspelling? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
on a Chiron.
Proof your work.
Okay. You're putting that task on a 19-year-old intern. Yes. Good lesson to learn.
Either that,
double check
or
your work.
Just, like we're gonna put it up there. Oh my gosh, I've got to take that down.
All right, let's get to a round of shots next. Don't forget about Last Call, where you can have the final word in the sports bar. If you want to join us, pull up a stool. 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326.
You're listening. Sports Update.
Travel day today for the Buffalo Bills. Joint practices in Chicago against the Bears tomorrow. Steve Tasker today on One Bills Live on why these practices are a good thing.
It's really a good experience for the young players and for the entire team, even the veterans, to go out and get outside themselves a little bit and have to adjust on the fly. And it is a chance for the ones to go on ones. Number one defense is going to, the Bears' number one defense is going to be going against Josh and this offensive line and James Cook and the rest.
Bills and Bears, our coverage Sunday will begin at 6 o'clock here on the Fan Rochester. Former Buffalo Sports Radio host Art Wander has passed. Wander was 98. Rochester Red Wings continuing their series against Syracuse tonight. Vlad Guerrero Jr. with a 2-run homer, giving the Jays a 2-1 win over the Cubs. Orioles are up 5-2 on Seattle. They're in the 7th. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, the Fan Rochester.
Got a smart speaker at home? Listen to the sports leader, the Fan Rochester at home, by asking it to play 95.7 The Fan.
Happy Hour continues, as we do every day at this time. A round of shots, Gino.
Yeah, more on that, the Cubbies losing up in Toronto danger, because noteworthy, the Cubs called up their top prospect today. His name is Owen Casey. Maybe they were just doing him a solid. He's a native of Burlington, Ontario, which is, of course, just outside of Toronto. Casey will going 0 for 4 today in the lineup. Here's the thing that I find pretty wild. He was a prospect acquired in the Yu Darvish trade. The trade was back in December of 2020. 5 years for this prospect, and they consider the top prospect. Padres don't care. They'll give you whatever. So George Webb restaurants have to live up to the free burgers for everyone promotion. Their promise is this: if the Brewers win 12 in a row, you eat free. In anticipation of this, the restaurant chain says they're planning on dishing out 100,000. There are 21 locations for George Webb in Wisconsin. You do the map. In preparation for this, the promotion, which did begin at 2 o'clock today, before 2 o'clock, some idiot called 911, upset they didn't get the free burger.
Oh, come on. Although, what are we talking about here? We're talking about cheeseheads after all. I mean, that get me my burger or else. I'm not leaving until I get my free burger.
Couple of notes about some former Buffalo Bills quarterbacks. News from the Jets camp, not great today. Backup quarterback Tyrod Taylor. We missed Tyrod, right?
Sure.
Tyrod's going to miss the remainder of the preseason. He had arthroscopic knee surgery to correct an ailment that has sidelined him for more than a week. Head coach Aaron Glenn called it a minor scope.
At least it wasn't team-induced. I mean, Tyrod's fortunes since leaving Buffalo haven't been the best.
Yeah, taking the needle in with the Chargers.
Just ridiculous. I still can't believe that happened to that guy.
So, all right, well, you're going to need a quarterback, right? The Jets still have...
I mean, yeah, you're the Jets. I was going to say, the Giants are set. The Giants are good because even if it doesn't work out with Mr. Unlimited or Jackson Dart or Jameis, you still have Tommy DeVito. Maybe they can get one of the 6 that the Browns have under contract. I don't know, Gino.
Well, those guys are still under contract.
Oh.
The Jets need somebody this week. They need somebody next week. Mike Garofalo reporting with Taylor done for the preseason. The Jets today working out 2 quarterbacks that we're familiar with, C.J. Beathard and Nathan Peterman.
Yes! Yes! We are so back. We are so back.
A little bit in the preseason. I think it'll be great.
You can't kill Nathan Peterman.
You're kidding me.
You can't kill that guy.
The guy is still...
He has a musk that head coaches cannot quit. You can't kill that guy. We're back. We're back in the Peterman game. I love it.
This is a masterstroke by McDermott.
Anything more than what Tyrod did last week, I would consider thriving for a Buffalo Bills quarterback.
Then that should be Peterman's stats after the first quarter.
Peterman is going to make mistakes.
He might not make it out of the first half.
I have been waiting since week 1. And I think that Peterman, from everything we've seen in preseason and in the little bit in New Orleans,
dude,
I think he's the man.
Dom, I'm warning you.
You watch, Gene.
You are crazy. Why can't it be us? Dude, you're going to be so disappointed.
I'm not.
Monday.
There is no way I'm going to be disappointed Monday.
You know, some people will come into the sports bar with really, really bad takes. We had one that was really bad. Luke from Rochester banned him from the show. We couldn't ban masterstroke from the show.
Because he was a sales manager.
He worked with us.
Yeah, like, what are we going to do? We
But
can't, yeah.
when we look back at the history of the sports bar, that, I think, remains the worst take of all time.
And now the irony on ironies. The year's 2025, and Tyrod's hurt, and they may sign Nathan Peterman.
Tyrod's like, I'm not into this. Not this guy. Not
No,
again.
this
Don't
guy
you
again?
know? Don't you know we have a history? Don't you remember? Do you remember what happened when we went to L.A.? No. Tyrod should just hang it up at this point. Like, if you see the team looking Nathan Peterman's way, hey guys, I'm just going to recover. You go. Good luck with that. You sign Nathan Peterman. Good luck with that.
Remember Jake Fromm? Of course you do. Quarterback at Georgia. The Bills took a flyer on him late in the draft. He didn't stick. He also tried out with the Giants there. Time moves quickly, Danger. Fromm is out of football now. He's now selling insurance in Atlanta. And no, it's not State Farm.
Yeah, Jake Fromm, State Farm.
Jake Fromm,
Yeah.
State Farm. No, that's not happening. Former quarterback Jake Fromm is now a client advisor for Sterling Secret's pitcher.
Ooh, well, excuse us.
Well, yeah,
We just thought you would be Jake from State Farm. But no, you're not Jake from State Farm. You're with Sterling Seacrest Pitcher.
I just think of the guy in Groundhog Day, the insurance salesman who comes up and just trying to sell you stuff.
I'm trying to remember, and I don't want to pick at an old wound, but was it racist text messages, or was it?
It was something that was unearthed in his time in Georgia that somebody put out there, something that was a private text message. So where's the line? But you know what? This isn't cool. Ultimately, he couldn't play in the league.
That's
So
right.
That's
Yeah.
really what it was.
But his time with Buffalo was really short. Like, he wasn't here much longer after
I didn't
that.
fault the Bills for taking him. The guy won a national championship,
Sure.
right? So,
the Peterman news makes my night. I don't. That's
nothing's. He hasn't signed yet.
I know.
But
I
just
know.
the fact that he's still trying to give this a go.
Damn it! Come on, we need this to happen. Let's go. We need this to happen. It's content for the show.
If he does sign with the Jets, that's week 2 of the NFL season. Danger.
Do you think we might see him?
No, you're seeing Justin Fields, but
Well, Justin Fields he's gotten dinged up from time to time.
you have the Peterman Bears jersey.
I do.
Peterman. Maybe we get that.
I wore it to the preseason game last year between the Bears and the Bills. Look, I know that wearing a Bears jersey into Highmark Stadium is a risky proposition, but my middle ground was, how can you be mad if I'm wearing a Peterman jersey? And I had a guy stop me and say, dude, that is epic. And it isn't even the right number. Master Stroke and his kid gave it to me as a gag gift. And it was number 2, even though his number with the Bears was 14. But it didn't matter. Nobody would have known that. It didn't matter. And
you wear it now, and people be like, "Oh, that's awesome."
the guy saw it, and he's like, dude, I need to take a picture of that. I'm friends with him. So he must have developed a friendship with Peterman during his time in Buffalo, and he did. He took a picture of it and sent it to Peterman.
Well, maybe let's name all the Jets fans. Dan Leberfeld, our buddy Pete. Get him a Peterman jersey. Pete for Peterman.
Yeah,
we go.
We need this to happen. We're so back.
The mascot for the Denver Nuggets is Rocky. You got it, Denver, Rocky Mountains. Anyway, Rocky suing the team, Danger. Well, not Rocky, but the guy inside the outfit. His name is Drake Solomon. He is seeking unspecified damages from Kroenke Sports and Entertainment for an alleged violation of disability protection laws. Although he's only 31, Solomon has a condition that led him to hip replacement surgery.
I don't understand. So he's suing because he has a condition, or his job as the mascot led to the condition that he needs hip replacement surgery?
He can't do his job as a mascot anymore because I would think that the mascot has to do, I don't know, tricks, flips, do things that a mascot normally would.
I'm going to sue you, Stan Kroenke. I'm going to sue the Denver Nuggets. I'm going to sue Bart Winkler. I'm suing everybody.
Wait, Bart Winkler?
Bart Winkler, who does late nights on Infinity Sport. I'm suing everybody. Bill Belichick.
Like Jokic, maybe.
I'm gonna sue Nikola Jokic. I'm suing everybody. It doesn't have the same.
No.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm trying to be better. I really am.
You should be better.
I'm trying to be better. I can't. I'm sorry.
Finally, this was bound to happen. If you think we couldn't sink any lower, danger. If you look at a keyboard,
We can always sink lower, Gino. I will test that line as long as you let me.
Well, here we go. What is above the letter X on a keyboard?
Let me look. Oh, S.
S.
Yeah.
Trending today on social media was Atlanta Falcons quarterback Michael Penix Jr. Was identified on a graphic by a Savannah, Georgia TV station, WTOC, as Atlanta Falcons quarterback Michael Penis.
It's Nathan Penis.
And we've come full circle.
I wonder if, yes. What if Michael Penis is related to Ron Mexico?
It's Nathan Penis.
He's related to Nathan. Nathan is his brother. Nathan and Michael.
It's Nathan Penis.
That was John Murphy in a preseason game. Here's my question. Is that just a terrible malaprop, or was that what Peterman was being called behind his back?
It's Nathan Penis.
Yeah, I think it was just a slip of the tongue. It was.
I
it
don't
was.
know.
It was preseason for Murph that year, just like it was for everybody else. You know, he's just getting used to everybody.
It's Nathan Penis.
And his twin brother Michael, who plays for the Falcons. Double check your work. Whatever intern was working on the graphics there, double check your work. Okay, I'm over the moon over the Peterman news. I hope they sign him. God, I'm going to say a prayer tonight. I hope they sign my guy. I really do. Man, that would be great. We are so back.
We'll invite Laberfeld on. The Jets have really found their backup quarterback, what he has done here in practice. He's a great practice quarterback, right? That's what it is.
There's something about him that coaches cannot quit. They just cannot quit that guy. They love them. Some Nathan Gruden loved him. Gruden was all about Peterman. McDermott, my God. I mean, McDermott talked about him like he was his son.
Who was the Bears coach when he was there?
Oh, Eberflus.
Yeah.
Loved him. Just all so bad. So bad. Well, let's see how that unfolds. Sorry about Tyrod's knee. Tyrod's got to be beside himself. Like, what do I have to do to get away from this guy? What is it going to take for me to never hear that guy's name again? Or let alone be on the same team as him?
It's Nathan Penis.
Well, do you think Justin Fields will be going to vouch for him? They were teammates, right?
That's right.
Yeah, so
familiar with each other.
That's just I like this guy. Let's bring him into the room. Yeah, that's happened. This is happening. You realize
everybody knows everybody. Everything is connected. It makes a lot of sense. I get it. Our coverage of Buffalo Bills training camp, the preseason, is brought to you by Ace Swim and Leisure. Get the most out of summer. Ace has beautiful outdoor furniture, fire pits, parts, accessories, chemicals, everything you need for your pool. Chilai Ave and Ridge Road, Webster, aceswim.com. I'm sure they appreciate us mentioning them after that string of stories.
We appreciate you.
We
Ace.
appreciate them.
We appreciate
for being a part of our coverage. Buffalo Bills training camp. We had a fun show this afternoon, if you couldn't tell. Greg Thompson for Cover One was fantastic last hour. If you missed that conversation, you can get it on demand wherever you get your podcasts. Search The Sports Bar on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and you'll find all of our guest appearances there. Mark Grody from 670 The Score gave us a little preview of Bills-Bears. Joint practice tomorrow. Preseason week number 2 game Sunday night. And tomorrow on the show, we talked to one of our favorites from the 585, now in Cleveland. That would be Spencer German from 92.3, The Fan in Cleveland, our Odyssey Sports sister station.
Yeah, that we'll kind of figure out what's going on with the Browns quarterback situation. And while we're on the air tomorrow, there's going to be actually a joint practice going on with Bills and Bears. So everybody stay healthy, but we'll bring you the updates on that.
Sure will. That'll do it for this afternoon. Hope you have a great night. We'll talk to you again tomorrow, starting at 3 to kick off your sports weekend. JR Sport Brief next on The Fan Rochester.